This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Huss and Reem with you. We got a banger today for you. Off day today in the Stanley Cup Final. We do have the NBA Finals tonight. Indiana and the OKC Thunder going at it in Indianapolis. But we're going to focus in on the NHL offseason and a lot of big stories around the league. Matt Larkin from Daily Faceoff is going to jump on with us and get his thoughts on the finals so far. Can the Oilers get back into it with a big win in game number 4? But also the new Daily Faceoff trade target board, which will be of interest to many Winnipeg Jet fans. We'll have Matt Larkin jump on. And then a little later on, former Stanley Cup winning general manager Neil Smith as well, with his thoughts on the final, as well as, some intriguing teams going into the offseason. Certainly his former team, the New York Rangers. We're hearing that Chris Kreider could potentially be dealt in the very near future to the Anaheim Ducks. And just, the crazy season that they've had, what's happened. And as well as, what are general managers in the NHL doing right now? I mean, this, for 30 of the 32, certainly is one of the busiest times of the year. Not only, finalizing draft boards with your scouting staff, but strategizing and getting ready for July 1st. So Neil Smith is going to jump on. We've got the Bomber depth chart out right now. Home opener tomorrow. Josh Frey-Sam of the Winnipeg Free Press is going to set up Lions Bombers tomorrow night. And it is the eve of the U.S. Open. On major weeks, we always lean on our pal Geoff Fienberg to come on. Cannot wait. Had a great time with Geoff on the weekend in Toronto. He'll be back on WST. We'll pick his brain on the carnage that we are likely to see tomorrow when the U.S. Open begins over at Oakmont. Welcome to everybody in chat. Great to see you all. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. And shout out to all you podcast listeners making Winnipeg Sports Talk part of your daily grind. And we're also going to get into some award winners. It's going to be one more sleep till we find out whether Connor Hellebuck is the MVP of the National Hockey League this year. But a great result for Josh Morrissey in Norris Voting. And we got the Rookie of the Year yesterday. So we'll get into that with Michael Remis coming up in just a second. Before we do, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Roley's Transfer, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Ben Moss, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, the Gold Eyes, nice win in Chicago last night. They'll look to win their series this evening. Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend Country Club. We will get to a why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray. And fan feedback from all of you for fansfirst.ca. Remis, what's going on?
Hey, feeling good, Huss. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird time of year with the Stanley Cup off day in between games and the off-season hot stove chatter. The rumor mill is going, and yes, tomorrow is the Blue Bombers home opener. So lots going on. Feeling good. Weather's nice. I don't know if it's officially summer, but it feels like summer out there, and happy to be here talking with everyone.
Yeah, it was just an absolutely gorgeous evening. I was away, but from all reports, the weekend sort of sucked. But right now, listen, we needed that rain. Hopefully that is helping battling these fires around the province. And now we look at this forecast heading into the weekend. It's beautiful. 22, 23, 24, 24, sunshine. And tomorrow, sunny, 23, absolutely perfect for the Blue Bomber home opener, which is already over 30,000 seats right now. So if you haven't got your tickets already, I would suggest getting on that, because Princess Auto Stadium tomorrow is certainly going to be the place to be. Remo, let's start off with some Jets news right off the bat. Well, we have to wait tomorrow to find out that Connor Hellebuyck is officially the Hart Trophy winner. Fingers crossed. I won't believe it till I hear it officially announced by the National Hockey League, although I'm quite excited about it for multiple reasons, as have been discussed before on this program. How about Josh Morrissey finishing 4th in Norris Trophy voting behind Cale Makar, the winner, Zach Werenski, and Quinn Hughes, all 3 defensemen who had absolutely incredible years and probably were worthy of winning the award. But we knew that Josh wasn't in the top 3 with not being a finalist, but it seems like he's finally getting a lot of the recognition that he deserves around the league. And that's what happens when you have a team performance, as the Winnipeg Jets did last year. Individual awards will follow.
Yeah, well, the Jets at the awards, doing pretty well this year. Scott Arniel, 2nd in the Jack Adams. Connor Hellebuyck won the Jennings already. Adam Lowry, 10th in the Selke. And Neil Pionk, 10th in the Masterton. So we're waiting to hear about the Vezina, which likely will be Hellebuyck, and the Hart Trophy as well. But I think it just speaks to what a great season it was for the Jets, that they have so many players up for the awards. And nice to see Josh Morrissey get some recognition there around the league. 4th in the Norris. It was Rick Bowness a couple of years ago that told him, hey, I think you can be, top 3 in the Norris voting. And, well, top 3 after the winner. So, hey, it was a great season for Josh. And you're up there with some pretty awesome names. Got named to Team Canada for the Four Nations. We'll wait and see about the Olympics as well, as I'm sure this summer that will be a conversation. Okay, let's start thinking about the rosters. But while they didn't have the playoff success that you would have liked, I think this was a great season, and I do wonder how we're going to be romanticizing this past year as we move ahead. President's Trophy, division winner. They seemingly won every game. It was fun here every day talking about it. So I'm curious how they're going to possibly follow this up.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, kind of after the Dallas series, we spent lots of time talking about the end of the year. I mean, a really disappointing way that it went out. But, as we compared maybe Jet fans to the rest of the fan bases that were out in the second round, I think the misery index was a little lower here in Winnipeg on the exit, just based on, the thrilling nature of the comeback in Game 7 against the St. Louis Blues. And then obviously the emotional levels in and around Game 6 with Mark Scheifele playing with a heavy heart after the passing of his father. So, listen, if we're talking about the playoffs, there's going to be one team that wins. I mean, Edmonton or Florida are going to be disappointed in a week when the series is over or whenever it finally finishes up. But, now that we have had a little bit of time to look back, I mean, you're right. This is a season, a historic season for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck, up until this point, had been the only major trophy winner that the Winnipeg Jets had since 2011, winning the 2 Vezinas. He will win a 3rd Vezina. And, to have a Hart Trophy winner is something that is incredibly special. And it sounds like, from all reports and photos that we've been seeing in and around the National Hockey League, that will be announced tomorrow night. Again, I'm reserving judgment until I hear it officially. But I was really pleased for Josh to get this sort of recognition from people around the league. I mean, it's no secret. I mean, if you're playing in a spot like Winnipeg, you need to have some things go your way to get the sort of attention that players in, well, other cities will get. And we'll get to the Rookie of the Year announcement from yesterday in a moment. But he really did deserve it. I mean, he quarterbacked the blue line of the number 1 team throughout the regular season in the National Hockey League, and that is when these awards are voted on. I mean, there's no time machine where people can go ahead and just fast forward to the final and say, these are the 2 best teams. So, I mean, there's an 82-game body of work that the Winnipeg Jets put forth, won more games than anyone else in the league, had more points, won that President's Banner. And for Josh Morrissey, and I'm glad you brought up Rick Bowness, Reem, because there's a lot of things that Bones deserves credit for, starting off with the culture change of, the Winnipeg Jets that's has the team in such a better spot today than they were 3 years ago. But, you mentioned he wanted more scoring. He wanted more attack from the Winnipeg blue line and said Josh Morrissey is a top 10 defenseman in the National Hockey League right now and is capable of more. And lo and behold, now Josh recognized in the top 4 for Norris Voting this year behind 3 defensemen that all, as I mentioned, had a very compelling argument to win the award overall.
Yeah, those are some elite players who were in the top 3. And for Josh Morrissey, I think it shows how far he's come. He's got 3 years left on his contract, $6.25 million, which seems like a steal right now at age 30, but it wasn't like that, for a couple of years in there. He wasn't playing up to his potential, had a couple down seasons, and at one point made Dom's list on The Athletic of, most overpaid or worst contracts in the league. And I know Murat, fought him on that and disputed his value and
got the W in that argument.
And got the W. But I think it shows you, he hasn't been this player, for his time at the Jets, but in the last couple of years since Rick Bowness's arrival, he's really elevated his game and shows it here. Nice to get recognized as the 4th in the Norris Trophy voting. I mean, no shame in losing Cale Makar, Zach Werenski, Quinn Hughes. Those are all exceptional players.
You know what the weird thing is, and we'll ask some of the guys, like when Ken's going to come on with us, what is it, tomorrow or Friday? When Ken's on, we'll lean into him on the voting. Because there are a few things that it seems like people have to do to win. Let me ask you this. If the Columbus Blue Jackets made the playoffs this year, does Zach Werenski get the Norris Trophy?
I don't know. Does that matter? Like, I don't think
that's the point. I think it really does. I think there's a lot of people who are like, well, if they're a playoff team, this guy was so good this year and so important for them, and no one expected them to do it, that he would get. Because, I believe, I don't have the voting in front of me, but I think Makar had the vast majority of the number 1 votes.
Here.
And then was Werenski and Quinn Hughes, who many people said should be a Hart Trophy candidate for the difference that he makes when he's on the ice, was there. So, 176 for Makar, 132 seconds for Werenski. I'm always interested in, the way the playoffs and making the playoffs are a bit of a barometer for individual success for these individual awards. You can argue whether it makes sense or not. Feel free. But, for it's the season that Zach had for that team to miss, I really do wonder if they were able to just grab a couple more wins and get into the playoffs, would he have won it? Listen, bottom line for Josh Morrissey, absolutely no shame to be 4th on that list. In fact, it's an incredible accomplishment because every one of those players had first place votes, although Hughes only got 2. And, Josh, the body of work for Morrissey speaks for itself. And, he had 0 first place votes. He had 5 second. He had 18 third, but then a ton of votes in 4th and 5th right now. And, as I said, for a guy that has meant so much and obviously had his season end in injury and now he's rehabbing right now, one of the great seasons on the blue line that we've seen from a Winnipeg Jet player since 2011. And if I'm not mistaken, the first time we've had a guy even sniffing around being a finalist for the top defenseman in the league.
Yeah, it's true. There haven't been a ton of league award winners. Hellebuck with the Vezina and now Morrissey. And I do think people like to come up with their own criteria. Like if there's a young defenseman in the Calder, it's like, oh, you know how hard it is? So much harder as a young defenseman in the NHL to put up those numbers instead of, just looking at the body of work. So, Werenski, Makar, great seasons. Quinn Hughes, you could argue, MVP for sure on that team that was so disappointing this past year. And Josh Morrissey is the number one guy for the Jets, plays power play, plays big minutes. So the Jets had a great season. Again, unfortunate it ended the way that it did with the not advancing past the second round. But I think we can look back and call it the regular season for sure a huge success.
Let's quickly touch on the Calder because that kind of broke as we did the show yesterday. We didn't really get into it, but Lane Hutson, the young defenseman of the Montreal Canadiens, ran away with the award. 165 first place votes and 26 second place votes. The 26 individuals that did not pick Hudson to win the award were split between 15 for Dustin Wolf in Calgary, who finished second, and 11 for Macklin Celebrini in San Jose. I won't disagree that Hudson certainly deserved to be in the conversation and won the award, but much like I just mentioned about how good Josh Morrissey had to be and the Jets had to be to get into that conversation, I do wonder what the voting would have been like if Macklin Celebrini played on the Montreal Canadiens and Lane Hudson did what he did playing for the San Jose Sharks. And listen, the fact of the matter was, with Montreal getting into the playoffs, he was a huge part. I mean, it all sort of broke Hudson's way. But man, that Macklin Celebrini is such a brilliant player, and he was on the worst team in the National Hockey League. I mean, he came to a team that had bottomed out. And I do know that if you redrafted or you did a pick right now, Celebrini would definitely be the first player. But it also speaks to how good the rookies were this year, in that Mitchkoff, who would scored, 26, 27 goals, wasn't even a finalist after the year that he had in Philly.
Yeah, I thought Dustin Wolf had an awesome season too. Has 910 save percentage, 264 goals against. Those are up there for goalies in the NHL, and really put Calgary in contention for a playoff spot. And you look at the numbers, Lane Hudson, he had 66 points in 82 games as a defenseman. Celebrini, exceptional season, 63 and 70, and maybe missing the 12 games gave Hudson. But I agree. Like, if you're drafting again, you're probably taking Celebrini if you had to put them in a draft. And that is a valid point. Hudson in Montreal, Celebrini, exceptional player. You wonder if he's going to get Team Canada consideration for the Olympics. We just saw him in the World Championships with Canada, who did have a disappointing finish. But yeah, these are some really solid rookies. With Mitchkov had a great season, finishing fourth. Funny how Logan Stankoven counts as a rookie after what he did last season. Jackson Blake, he's playing top line for Carolina. He's on there. So a lot of good young players, and I do think Hudson gets the bonus saying, well, he's a defenseman, so he's doing this, and the Montreal boost helps too. But I don't think it's a bad pick, and I think a lot of people did have him as their first place winner, 165.
Incredibly talented offensively. And you mentioned the numbers. I mean, his assist numbers were, historic when it comes to, a rookie defenseman. Listen, he is so small and did get pushed around. I mean, I think back to the way Adam Lowry just abused him in front of the Montreal net in that one game, where he just basically did, he just backed that ass up, if you will, right into the blue paint, and there wasn't anything that Hudson was able to do about it. But again, I mean, you put up that sort of offense, you're gonna get a lot of praise for it, and you win the award. But I will say this about Celebrini. So many times that we look at these awards and we just base it on the offensive numbers, and he had some good ones. He's the true 60-meter player, Remis, formerly known as 200-foot player, a guy that can do it in all ends. And if you look at any of these players, I guess Hudson will be in the mix. I believe he's American for the U.S. team. But if you're looking at a player that'll be in the mix, potentially playing best on best this year, I'm pretty sure it's the kid from San Jose and Macklin Celebrini.
Yes, we saw him, in the games against the Jets, and you watch them. He was the reason their power play was so good. He played top line, huge responsibility, and they've got a lot of good young talent in San Jose. They had some dark years, but it seems like with him, Will Smith, they're on the way up in San Jose. So again, some great rookies, but Hudson, the runaway winner.
We'll hit this coming up, more in the National Hockey League with Matt Larkin and Neil Smith coming up. Remo will also get into the Bombers with Josh Frey-Sam in a few minutes from the Winnipeg Free Press. And we do have the depth chart for the Bombers' first game of the season finally tomorrow night. One bit of concern, and we heard this coming out of yesterday's practice, is there was some sort of collision between Chris Streveler and Patty Neufeld. Patty Neufeld is on the depth chart, but is noted as a game time decision. And, considering the changes that have already happened on that Winnipeg Blue Bomber offensive line, not having Patty Neufeld or even a banged up Patty Neufeld, not exactly the way you wanted to go into the season.
No, you're already missing Eric Lofton out. He is on the 6-game injured list. So, on an O-line that, you're already they lost Liam Dobson as well in free agency. So, being without Neufeld and Lofton, some changes there. So Josh will be able to key in more. And yes, Chris Streveler at quarterback was interesting to note looking at the depth chart. Free agent signing Dylan Mitchell, not on the roster. They put him on the 1-game injured list. I saw someone refer to him as a healthy scratch for this game. May have been, I forget who it was, on X, and who Peyton Logan, who they brought in to be the returner, as there's so much talk about returning. They lost Janarian Grant going into last year, and Lucky Whitehead did it at times, but they didn't have the impact that Janarian Grant did. Rookie Trey Vaval gets the nod at return, so all eyes will be on him in the return game. It'll be nice to see Dalton Schoen back in game action.
Oh yeah.
With although it is Chris Streveler throwing at quarterback, and I looked at the game log for when Streveler started that game at home that they won against Ottawa. I think he passed for 21 times, ran for 11. I'm very curious at the play calling distribution. Buck Pierce is going to be coaching for BC in this game, and Jason Hogan now the OC for the Bombers. So we'll have to. It's funny. He went up, talked to the media, and DT's like, "All right, Jason, tell us your game plan and your philosophy for this season. You got to hit us with all the info." And he kind of just laughed.
Well, they certainly know about the offensive philosophy of the guy that's leading the BC Lions in, and their old pal Buck Pierce. And Pierce, which is interesting, like the fact that it's not Streveler, or it's not Collaros, and it's Streveler. I mean, Buck Pierce has been with the Bombers when they haven't had Zach Collaros and had to go to Chris Streveler before. So it is somewhat of a unique situation in that the head coach of the Visitors might be spending a little bit more time with the defensive coordinator, talking about how the Bombers may look and what they may try to do with Streveler in. As far as the Bomber offense, it will be Streveler as the starter. Of course, Brady Oliveira in the backfield. In the slots, Dembski, Dalton Schoen, Jarrett Stearns, and the wideouts, Wheatfall and Claircius. And the offensive line looks like this: Bryant, Vanterpool, Kolinkowski, Patty Neufeld, who's a game-time decision, and Randolph starting at the right tackle position. And, of course, the defense led by Willie Jefferson and James Vaughters, who's going to make his first start as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber coming up. A few new names in that backfield, a few of the defensive backfield. Definitely looking forward to seeing Evan Holm back and Dietrich Nichols. But we'll talk a little bit more about this Bomber defense and the way that it's shaping up with Josh Frey-Sam, who's going to join us a little later on. But we've got lots to get to, and we do have some guests, so we should get to it. Before we bring in Matt Larkin, we give a big thanks to Rolly's Transfer for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Family owned and operated for over 60 years and the most trusted name in moving services in Manitoba. Folks, if you are moving, head on over to Rollies.com. Click on that request an estimate in the top right corner. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around with a great quote for you and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. Big thanks to our friends at St. Vital Dental Center for their support of WST as well. Golf season's in full swing. I know Dr. Terry's been hitting the links and, of course, supporting Manitoba Golf with the sponsorship of the Match Play Championship. They've been serving Winnipeggers and Manitobans for generations in St. Vital, and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with free parking right in the background, right in the back of the building. Very convenient for getting in and out. And, I mean, the place is amazing. The smiles are great there. State-of-the-art equipment with everything that you need from a dental care provider, from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. You can find out more on everything St. Vital Dental Center can do for you at stviteldental.ca. Also make an appointment and make sure to say hi to the gang from WST when you pop in. I mentioned that the weather's looking pretty darn nice heading into tomorrow's Bomber home opener and the weekend. Might be a great time to pop down to your local Manitoba liquor marts and check out the new ready-to-drink cocktails from Canadian Club. It's the Club Pack, the old favorite, CC and Ginger. They've also got the new Citrus Smash and the Canadian Club Half and Half. Now, the CC and Gingers were everywhere at Bomber games last year. I will report back on Friday to let you know if all 3 flavors are available at the Princess Auto Stadium. But you can rest assured that you'll be able to get the great taste of Canadian Club there, as CC is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So get ready for a couple of those tomorrow night for the Bomber home opener. And hey, Manitoba Battery's ready to kick off your summer in style, folks. If you're heading out to the lake with that camper, with your boat, with the Sea-Doo, with the ATV, you got to have batteries for all these things to have fun throughout the summer. And Manitoba Batteries, where you get the best deals and shop local on batteries for literally everything. Stop wasting money at the big box stores. Save time, save cash, and get the best service from Manitoba Battery. You'll save up to $50 a battery on boat and camper batteries as you get ready to kick off things this summer. 2 convenient locations, Logan Avenue and the new location on Dovercourt Drive. Give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com. Free delivery anywhere inside the city of Winnipeg perimeter with any purchase over $60. Shout out to Donnie and the gang. I know they're ready for the Bomber opener tomorrow over at Manitoba Battery. All right, let's get into some hockey talk. Matt Larkin about to join us on the program. And, of course, this segment brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load. And it's backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. And can we talk about how good this truck looks? Everywhere it goes, the Toyota Tundra is turning heads. From $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.39% APR with $71.99 down. Hybrid options available as well. Find out more and visit shoptoyota.ca. All right, Neil Smith still to come. Let's welcome in Matt Larkin right now from Daily Faceoff. Matt, what's going on? It's great to chat again. How are you?
Hustler, my friend, it's good to be back, and we're getting to a really fun time of the year. We got so much going on. We got the final, and we've got trade talk heating up. Free agency's only a few weeks away. It's exciting.
Yeah, we got a new trade target board over at Daily Faceoff, which we'll dive into. Free agency. To be frank, often at this time of year, with how long the regular season and the playoffs are, I'm ready for the Stanley Cup Final to be done. Not this year. The first 2 games were just so incredible. I mean, I guess a bit of a letdown in game number 3, but Matt, how have you enjoyed the final, and do you think that we are on a collision course for potentially a 7-game classic?
I really have enjoyed it, and I'm torn because I get frustrated with the huge breaks between games. But I sometimes wonder, of course, there's the sinking with the NBA Finals, but also for Gary Bettman, maybe he wants the best product out there. So he's getting rested players competing every game, right? So I do think that has an effect. And I think that's part of the reason, we had the 6-day layoff before game one. We got such a great game one and game two, really back and forth. And it's kind of what I expected. I had this series going 7 games. I think Florida, you can make a case, is the deepest team in the entire salary cap era right now. But Edmonton has that factor with McDavid, Draisaitl. I liken them to an NBA team that has a couple stars they can just take over. So I thought it was going to be a really close series, really enjoyed games 1 and 2. And game 3 was a little different. I was joking before we went on air, for anyone watching or listening, that it reminded me of something I saw a couple times in the Toronto series against Florida.
Well, the one thing I'll say, it's an interesting comparison because let's face it. I mean, Florida was clearly the better team. They dominated a big game. But, with it being in game 3 as opposed to, game 5 and then the finality of game 7, the way the Leafs were not even really in the game, this was just part of a longer story, right? That's a best of 7 series. And for a Florida team that consistently emasculates their opponents, I have to admit, even though a lot of it was nonsense and, does it do anything, we'll see, I actually like the fight that the Edmonton Oilers showed because everyone else has been dragged out into the alley by the Panthers and left there. And I thought the Oilers at least had something to say, and I'm really interested in the emotional level that they're going to bring in game 4. How did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it differently. I do think game 4 is going to be crucial because I think whatever game it happens in the course of a series, when Florida has delivered those beatdowns, it seems like it breaks a team's spirit. So you can make a case that the series with the Leafs was over after game 5. It was just so hard to recover from being pummeled so badly. And I don't think anyone was that confident they were going to win game 7. So that's the big question. Did Edmonton get broken in game 3? And that's where, Hustler, I don't necessarily agree about the response. I think it was reactive, not proactive. And to me, it came across like kind of sour grapes, petulant, having a meltdown when the game was out of reach. Spraying a water bottle on the bench, I don't think that's asserting yourself as an alpha dog. I think that's sort of being the little brother who's crying and you're hurt and you lost the fight. So I didn't love that response. I think it came too late. And to me, it almost represented Edmonton letting Florida get to them. So that's why I think game 4 is going to be so important to see if Edmonton shows the same resolve it had last year when it came back from 0-3.
Well, it's a great point. And yes, the water, the water, no one more angry about it than Brian Boucher in between the benches, of course. Yeah, that was a little much. But just the fact that they didn't just suck it up and take their medicine from Florida. I'm really interested to see where this team comes back because, of course, Matt, this is not just this is a rematch. These teams went the distance last year after Florida was up 3-0. And the fact that this is a sequel, normally, again, like, oh, great, we're seeing the same two teams again. I was fully signed up for it this year because the greatness of the high end of the Edmonton Oilers, but also the Panthers and where they are. I mean, you mentioned they might be the deepest team of the salary cap era. When you look at this Florida Panthers team, what stands out about them, and how much are they envied and going to be emulated by the rest of the National Hockey League in a copycat world that is pro sports as we get into the offseason?
Yeah, it's so hard to find a single thing that stands out because so many things do stand out. If there's one thing that I think really has separated them in the playoffs, I mean, we already know they have so much star power and elite players, but this year in particular, it's that third line with Brad Marchand, Anton Lundell, and Eetu Luosterainen. They've outscored opponents 12-2 in the playoffs at 5-on-5, absolutely dominant. And that just creates such a mismatch because you're trying to deal with the Sam Bennett line and the Barkov line, but it's the third line that just keeps breaking teams. And I don't think any opponent of the Panthers in the playoffs has been able to match that. The other thing to me that defines this era of the Panthers is their ability to find players who were first round talents, but were misused, miscast, were not realizing their full potential and unlocking their best. That's Sam Bennett, that's Sam Reinhart, that's Matthew Tkachuk, that's Seth Jones. The list goes on and on and on. You go through this lineup, there are so many players on the team that were either Panthers first round picks or other teams' first round picks that were better unlocked by the Panthers. They're just really good at evaluating talent and buying low. They bought low on Sam Bennett in 2021. They bought low, very low on Seth Jones. And those are two of their most important players in the playoffs. They also bought low on Brad Marchand. He had that tumble into the boards. I thought he looked a bit washed at the Four Nations faceoff. It looked like he could not keep up with the play. And they saw something that apparently I didn't. They saw that he had plenty left. He came back from that injury, and he's been extremely important in the playoffs. So it's a long answer, Hustler, but what I'm saying is there are so many things that they do well, and I just think a lot of it is a testament to Bill Zito's ability to recognize talent and buying low on it. Gustav Forsling, another one they bought low.
Listen, it's I mean, and then you see guys like Luosterainen, who are like, who the hell is this guy and where did he come from? I mean, it's a masterclass in building a team. But when we get to this point, and really you can talk about it in the second or in the third round, certainly the Leaf fans will have something to say about it. Not only is it a championship level of skill in the way this team is built, but they have an edge to them that simply nobody else in the National Hockey League has, Matt. And you know, it's hard not to think that that is truly impactful when you see the results series after series after series. Like, just thoughts on the intangibles or that edge, if you will, that the Florida Panthers have that it seems everybody else wants but has had nowhere near the success in building.
I agree. I think it's the number one advantage they have over their competition. They're obviously elite defensively as well. Barkov and Reinhart shutting down the McDavid line so well, just as they did last year. But the Panthers, for multiple years running, are the nastiest, meanest team in the NHL. The most penalized team, too, but they back it up with their penalty kill being good enough, which allows them to play that style. That's very important. If your PK was 69%, you can't play that way. But the Panthers, hovering around the 80s all regular season, so it permits them to run around, bully other teams. And I always call it heavy skill. It's not just about having a blunt instrument on your fourth line or third pair that ends up being healthy scratched or playing 4 minutes. You're a tough guy forward in the playoffs. It's not the same thing. It's the heavy that plays high in the lineup, plays a lot of minutes. So Sam Bennett, of course, is the embodiment of that. He's just a nasty customer. He's a bastard out there. That's the way I describe him. And I mean that in such a complimentary way. Whether you think he's on the right side of the line or not, I think we all agree he's perfected the art of crashing the net and gets those high percentage looks. He's leading the playoffs in goals. And of course, the copycat league is going to go nuts. Everybody is going to look for their next Sam Bennett, or literally Sam Bennett, on the free agent market. And at the draft, it's going to have a ripple effect. You hear about guys like Brady Martin rising up the board because everybody is thinking about Sam Bennett right now. They want that heavy skill. So it's extremely impactful, and it's very hard for other teams to match what Florida has in that department.
Well, before we get to the trade target board over at DFO, I mean, let's just quickly talk about Bennett. Now, listen, I do think, for the record, the most likely result of all of this is he pulls a Sam Reinhart and realizes he's got a pretty fair offer. He can stay with the team that has been to 3 straight finals and potentially could be back-to-back champs and wears flip-flops to practice, and he stays there. But if he goes to free agency, Matt, how big of a bag is going to be waiting for Sam Bennett? A guy that has 150-point season and yet come playoff time turns into the reincarnation of, one of the top two-way forwards that, can push you around in the corner too. I mean, he could very well win the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, it's trending that way for sure, especially with the recency bias of what you do in the final when it comes to the vote. And it's funny, with Sam Bennett, his contract, I wrote about it this week, trying to project it. I talked to some executives, some agents, trying to get a sense of what's really happening. There's the $10 million number out there, but I've been told by at least one or maybe two agents, at least one mentioned they felt like that was posturing from the Bennett camp, trying to drive the price up. I think what's realistic, it's tough because the market is extremely thin, especially with Brock Nelson off the board. Yeah. And you have the cap going up $7.5 million. And not just this year, you have it going up again to 113, I think just over 113 next year. So that factors into what you can hand out on an extension. So those two factors plus the playoffs work extremely well in Bennett's favor. That supports the idea of him being a $10 million player. Working against it, injury history, he plays a really heavy style. It's banged him up before. He rarely plays a full season. That type of player archetype does not age very well. The examples I listed in my story, David Backes, Wayne Simmons, those guys can fall off a cliff at 30, 31 because you take so much wear and tear. Wendell Clark back in the day, same thing. You have to factor that into what you're handing Sam Bennett out in terms of the contract. So I'm kind of landing somewhere in between the two numbers. Some people, there's a projection of $6 million. I say, no way, he's getting way more than that. I don't think he's getting 10. I think it's going to be something like 6 years, maybe $8.5 million. He's going to get enough term that it's going to bring down the AAV a little bit. It's still going to be a significant raise. But it is a factor, him staying in Florida. I remember a conversation I had with him a couple years ago, and I just asked, is the beach a factor, just keeping you calm and just the environment during the season? And he paused and he said, oh, yeah. And he's almost was proud of it. And I remember that. It stuck with me. It was really funny. It got a laugh out of me. And it just sort of showed how much he loves being there. So it's going to be hard to pry him away. He did win 2 cups, or at least 1 cup, maybe 2. Since that conversation, maybe that changes where he wants to go. But I don't think anyone can deny he loves being there, and that's going to be a factor.
I agree with you that the 10 million, like the 8-digit contract AAV, sounds insane. But at the same time, we see what he's doing right now, and we know the scarcity of a player like that. And I mean, for a team like the Leafs, like if Marner walks and they've got $13 million and they're watching this right now and they just played this team, and the thought of getting a guy that killed them to come across the hallway into their dressing room and be in there, part of me thinks that they might just say, screw it. We don't care if we have to pay an extra $2 million. We want this guy. We don't want them to have that guy. I mean, it could be one of the most interesting free agent negotiations if he gets to July 1st that we've seen in a long time, because it's so unusual.
Yes, and it is a big if, because again, it's tempting to stay in Florida. You get the tax benefit. You could get a lower AAV. It's still going to be the equivalent of more money. We've talked about it, I'm sure, a million times. That's what Sam Reinhart did, Matthew Tkachuk. But if we play along with him going to market, I agree it's going to be so interesting. And the Leafs, they are sort of the poster children for the reactionary team. If they're walking away from Marner and they decide that they have to try something different after 9 attempts with that core in the Matthews-Marner era, Bennett represents exactly what they need. They need more of a dog factor. He is the guy who killed them in 2 playoff series. 2023 as well. He took out Matthew Nice, right? Concussed him with that hit. And then he takes out Stolarz this time. It changes the course of that series. And I think his style really fits with what Craig Berube wants. And the Leafs did become a much tougher team this year, but they ran into the toughest team. So if you're looking at, okay, what's the reactionary thing to do? It's to go for Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand, to take those 2 and maybe hopefully get them for a combined $14 million and replace what Marner was commanding. And I don't know if it's the right idea in the long term. I think whatever the Leafs are going to do, it's going to shorten their window. But I understand the rationale of, we can't just keep doing the same thing. We have to try something, even if it means going for short-term success.
Matt, let's get to the potential free agents. Or actually, let's talk trades right now. I mean, particularly here in Winnipeg, where adding and filling holes through free agency is not normally a path that is available to the Jets, frankly. I mean, when it comes to the competition on it. So we look at, potentially some 2Cs out there that might be able to get into the mix. But I have to admit, looking at the list, I was a little surprised to see JJ Peterka out from Buffalo, only 23 years old, coming off a 27 goals, 68-point season. Like, Buffalo needs a lot of things. Getting rid of guys like Peterka doesn't seem at the top of that list. Fill us in on why his name is so hot right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a disaster to see him on there. He's your first-line left winger. He continues to get better. He's a goal scorer. He's a playmaker. He plays on your top power play, all that kind of stuff. And to me, well, it stems from a few different things. From one, there's the understanding that some of the core players are just sick of losing. It's 14 years in a row, NHL record, and maybe they're not confident in the direction that the franchise is going. They don't want to waste all of their best years. So that's a tough situation to be in. It makes the Sabres really vulnerable to an offer sheet for JJ Peterka. If he doesn't really want to be there, he's obviously far more likely to sign an offer sheet. He has agency if he's given one, right? So I think that could force Buffalo's hand. What you have to hope is that bringing in Jarmo Kekalainen to advise and help Kevyn Adams maybe brings some authority back to the franchise and helps correct course. But it's hard. If you're a Sabres fan, you want to hear that they're headed in the right direction. But seeing Peterka at the top of our trade board, I think has to be terrifying if you're a Sabres fan. You don't want to lose your best young players and be hearing that they're not happy and want out. I'm not saying Peterka is the one leading the charge who wants out, but just the general scuttlebutt that many of the young core players are not happy and want to win is scary to hear.
Well, then, of course, Bowen Byram's number 4 on the list as well. And I joke about, the suffering of Sabre fans. Like, late June to the end of August is the best time of the year to be a Sabre fan. because everyone's 0-0 before the season gets going and the misery begins. But hard to imagine, with all this stuff happening, that's not going to be 15 years. Hey, Matt, you mentioned offer sheet. We hear people kicking around offer sheet for Nyes. I'll just very simply, over or under 0.5 offer sheets signed this offseason in the National Hockey League?
I'm going to say over, even though you could argue that the market is less offer sheet fertile this year because of the cap going up. There are going to be fewer teams that are desperate. $7.5 million is the biggest increase ever in an offseason in the cap era. So that's going to help teams be able to match offer sheets. At the same time, I just get a sense that when you see how effective Holloway and Broberg were for the Blues, I think it's sort of a splash of cold water on the sort of prospective rival GMs' faces to say, hey, we got to stop thinking about the politics of this. This can really improve our team. If there's an opportunity out there, we should take it. And one of the most interesting ones out there for me, my colleague Frank Cervalli, he published a story on our offer sheet candidates yesterday. You can find it on Daily Faceoff. But Joel Hofer is a fun one because the insinuation there is that there could be a revenge offer sheet. And what's a team that could really use a young goaltender with upside, someone safer to rely on? The Edmonton Oilers. So could you see a revenge offer sheet of Joel Hofer to counterbalance the Holloway Broberg? I wouldn't be surprised. So that alone, just that one, that puts me over the 0.5 in the projection.
Interesting. I mean, I guess we could have someone in that category, not necessarily the high end that could potentially go. But honestly, I mean, I think back to last year, and listen, it was fun for us to talk about in the middle of the offseason, and it was a move that ended up bearing tons of fruit for the St. Louis Blues. But I can't get over the fact that the only reason that happened was because of egregious mismanagement on the part of the Edmonton Oilers. They got so horny on July 1st. They're signing Jeff Skinner. They're signing Arvidsson and then lowballing these two guys that are RFAs that eventually they put them in a situation where it was going to be almost impossible to match those both. And credit to Doug Armstrong and the Blues for making it happen. But those moves don't happen if they don't spend like drunken sailors on July 1st.
Yeah, it was a sort of a checkmate move. And I think in terms of when the conditions are optimal, I think it's when a team has some young players with upside that haven't quite realized their potential yet and maybe are slightly underachieving. And that team is trying to focus more on its veteran players. And in Edmonton's case, you're thinking ahead to Evan Bouchard's next contract, and they were hammering out Draisaitl's extension. You have McDavid's coming. Those are huge, like motherships casting a shadow, and you're thinking about what's coming in the future. So if we're looking for other offer sheet candidates, it's got to be teams that are dealing with other larger headaches. To me, Will Kyle, the New York Rangers, is an interesting one because the Rangers are a team, they want to be a Stanley Cup contender. They're usually into the big game hunting. They're trying to make bigger, bolder moves. And Kyle had a nice breakout this year, but he was playing in their bottom six. So it's a matter of what if, and it's funny, I think it was Kevin Lowe that actually told me this, the king of the offer sheet. But it's a matter of one team, the team doing the offer sheet has to perceive the value of the player to be a lot higher than that of the team that he's currently on. That's when you get the conditions. So you could look at a player like Will Kyle of the New York Rangers and say, for all the talk of Matthew Nyes, he's got a very similar skill set. He's a bruiser. He can score goals. He scored more than 20 this year. And maybe we think he's a 30-goal scorer, masquerading as a 20-goal scorer. So we're going to pay him what we think he's worth at a rate that we don't think his team believes he's worth. That's when you get those scenarios, and that's exactly what happened with Dylan Holloway. He's the quintessential example too.
Matt Larkin of Daily Faceoff with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Back to the center dilemma for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, listen, you look at this list, and there's a lot of older players, but there's a 23-year-old from a division rival that stands out. Marco Rossi, 23. He's number 3 on the list. You know, I can't say, I mean, being in the Central Division and seeing as much in Minnesota, I can't say that I'm surprised to hear this sort of scuttlebutt coming out of the Twin Cities. It's because of where he was playing in the lineup when the team was in the playoffs. I mean, he kind of fell down to the fourth-line role. But this is a young man that has been very productive. Maybe doesn't fit the style that Bill Guerin wants his team to play, but sort of demand, and what would the cost, do you think, be, never mind in the division, but just for any team to acquire a young player with that much tread still left on the tire that could hopefully really improve a top 6?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned him, Hustler, because it was sort of reading my mind. I kind of was thinking he'd be really perfect for the Jets because you're buying into upside as well. He's still a young player, and it's no disrespect to Vlad Namestnikov, but he's not truly a number 2 center. Adam Lowry's ideal is a number 3, right? So I think that's the number 1 need for the team. You need a true, reliable number 2 center who can generate offense. And Rossi, to me, it just confuses me. I don't understand. I feel like this player gets disrespected. He broke out as a rookie, spent a lot of the year on the first line with Kirill Kaprizov, was pretty effective at both ends of the ice. This year, he gets 60 points as a sophomore. What's wrong? Why do people not like this kid? And there's all this talk of his contract demand is too much. He rejected 5x5. He wants the Matt Boldy deal 7x7. Okay, fine. Maybe that's a little too much, but I don't understand the manner in which all of the rumor talk and anyone we know who's talking to sources seems to be kind of dumping on Rossi as if he's not valuable. I think he's being undervalued at this point. I think he's already, if you're getting 60 points as a sophomore, you are a number 2 center. And I think he was disrespected by being dumped to the 4th line in the playoffs. I think he deserves better. He deserves a team that will play him in that role long term. Yes, he's undersized, but he wouldn't be the first undersized forward to have success in the NHL. I still think he's capable. The problem is, in terms of figuring out the return, it's also, you have to figure out, I don't know if it's a sign and trade, but understanding what the extension is going to be. And it seems like nobody in the market agrees on his value. If he wants 7x7, I don't think anyone wants to pay him that. So is he willing to sign somewhere where he'll get 6? And do you need to know that before you make a deal? Maybe. And for the Wild, it's like, okay, they're not really in a rebuilding state, so you don't want to just be sending them a first-round pick. I think if you're Bill Guerin, they're trying to get better now. Unless they're trying to clear cap space and chase a big fish, maybe in that case they would take a pick, because with the buyout penalties, they're really shrinking now, right? For Ryan Suter and Zach Parise, the Wild are now positioned to actually be players and take a swing this summer. So maybe you're willing to sell Rossi for futures, not present, if it's not a good fit, if it means you're freeing up space to chase someone else. So that's a complicated answer, I know, but I'm just saying the Wild, I think they have a lot of balls in the air that they have to figure out. But if I'm another team that needs help at center, yes, kick the tires on Marco Rossi. Buy low on a player that was parked on the 4th line, even though I think he has potential to be a regular 70-point guy in the NHL.
Matt, staying in the Central Division, I've got to ask you about the Dallas Stars. I mean, 3 weeks ago, they were beating the Jets in overtime in Game 6 and looking to finally get over the hump and make it back to the Cup Final. Since then, they get annihilated by Edmonton. Pete DeBoer loses his mind in the final game, runs over his all-star goaltender, who has an 8-year contract kicking in next month, and then backs the bus over him and then is fired. Thoughts on just how that blew up on them, and now the fact that Jason Robertson, who's probably the most accomplished goal scorer's name, is in the top 10 of the DFO trade bait board.
Yeah, it's been, as the kids say, quite the crash out. I think that's what they say, right? The Gen Zs.
Crash out. That's
for the Dallas Stars. Yeah, in a short period of time, like even just 3 weeks ago, we were talking about how this is the deepest team in the Western Conference. Maybe this is finally their year, but so much changed. I do think it started with the Mikko Rantanen pursuit. You ship out Logan Stankoven, who I talked to after the trade and was quite hurt. He was promised that he was never going to be dealt and would be a casualty of the trade. And you extend Rantanen as part of the trade, but that really creates a difficult situation going forward because they didn't go all the way this year. They only have $4.96 million in cap space, and you still want to improve. The right side of their defense is not nearly good enough. You have Matt Duchene is a free agent. Mason Marchment's a free agent. I think, isn't Jamie Benn's deal up too? A lot of their top 9 forwards are free agents. Mikhail Granlund, who was really good for them,
and they've got less than $5 million cap space.
Less than $5 million. You can fit one of those guys. So suddenly you had the deepest team in the West, and because you went all in on Rantanen, which fair, he's a Hall of Fame player, it does create a lot of complications going forward, and it does mean that Jason Robertson is someone who could be a casualty, and that's a tough move to execute. How do you move out of Jason Robertson and still stay good? And still replace a player of that caliber? I know my colleague Jeff Merrick was saying, well, maybe it's to pursue Mitch Marner. But again, everyone's going to be after Mitch Marner. It doesn't guarantee you get him. So I don't know. I find it difficult to envision a scenario in which Dallas wins a Jason Robertson trade.
Hey, just quickly on the way out, you mentioned Logan Stankoven. What do you expect the Carolina Hurricanes to do this offseason?
Yeah, I wrote about it a couple weeks ago. people think of them maybe the same way they think of Dallas and Carolina. Oh, they can't break through. They're always losing in the conference final. They're 1-12 under Brendan Moore. But Eric Tulsky is starting to make this team under his own image. They have almost $30 million in cap space. All of their key core players are still there, and they have really good prospects who are NHL ready that can help right now. Alexander Nikishin, one of the best defensive prospects in the game. Scott Moore on defense. Jackson Blake cut his teeth this year. Bradley Neto. So they have good kids coming in at entry-level AAVs, a lot of cap space to chase a big fish. I think they're positioned very well to emerge out of the summer as maybe the best team in the East on paper. We'll see how things go.
Matt, thanks so much for doing this. Could crank out another half hour. No problem with you with everything happening. Fill people in on everything you and the gang have cooking over at Daily Faceoff right now. It's busy time.
Yes, it's very busy. We have daily draft coverage from Stephen Ellis, the draft savant. He's publishing at least one story on the draft every day. Good. Prospect profiles, rankings, all that stuff leading up to June 27th. We have a new trade targets board from Frank Saravalli. And watch later in this week, I'm going to be talking Olympics, players whose stocks went up and down during these playoffs.
Matt, thanks so much for doing this. Let's catch up again soon and enjoy Game 4.
Thanks, Hustler. Always fun, buddy.
All right, great stuff with Matt Larkin. Appreciate him jumping on with us. We're going to dive into the Bombers and the home opener tomorrow with Josh Frey-Sam of the Winnipeg Free Press in just a minute. You know, Josh being such a big NFL guy, too, I think we may have to talk about... Didn't want to talk a lot about Aaron Rodgers while he just dragged this out all summer. But now that he is back, he is a Pittsburgh Steeler. May have to check in on that. But the focus will be on tomorrow's home opener. You know where that is, gang. It is at Princess Auto Stadium, the home of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the home of the 2025 CFL Championship game, the Grey Cup. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Bombers and their home and of Winnipeg Sports Talk, and the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is waiting for you at Princess Auto. 3 locations in the province to serve you. 2 in the city, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West. And, of course, there's a Brandon location for our friends out in Westman. And if you're busy or you can't make it down to the store, don't worry about it. You can shop online 24/7, 365 online at princessauto.com. Good luck to the Bombers this season, and we will see you all tomorrow at Princess Auto Stadium for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers home opener. Obviously looking forward to Bomber season. I'm also looking forward to getting out on the water because fishing season is back, and that means I'm counting down to getting back to Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge this year. I was actually on the river last night for a little bit, seeing some people fish. A little different than waiting for something to happen on the river as opposed to the world-class fishing you'll get at a place like Aikens Lake Lodge. The one thing is that as great as the fishing is, it's the hospitality and the Aikens Lake touch that really takes it over the top. Head on over to aikenslake.com. You can find out more about everything involved. I mean, you could be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. Relatively short flight from Silver Falls. And they can tell you about different options if you want to do some sort of a corporate event, lodging options. And, of course, availability for the 2025 season is all there. aikenslake.com. And check them out on all their social channels at Aikens Lake for more on what the Aikens experience is all about. Fishing season, wedding season here as well. Fellas, how's the wardrobe? If you realize that you got some busy weekends coming up and need to up your menswear game, head on down to F Apparel, Winnipeg's #1 spot for custom men's clothing for 15 years and counting. F, of course, has custom suits beginning at just over $400. Chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles. An incredible selection of menswear accessories. If you are getting married or are in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the gang at F Apparel about a special discount when you guys get their suits for the big day at F Apparel. You can wear them long beyond the big day and get a great discount on it when the wedding party gets their suits at F. So find out more in store, 190 Smith Street downtown, or jump on over to their website, that's EPHapparel.com for more details. And, of course, to make an appointment to come in for a fitting. Josh Frey-Sam's going to join us in a couple minutes. And we'll get to that in just a moment. As I mentioned, we're going to get ready for talk a little bit about the opening roster, the Bombers heading into week 1, and we'll have to touch on a couple NFL topics as well. But just before we bring in Josh, this segment is brought to you by Ben Moss. Ben Moss is proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years. 3 locations in Winnipeg, Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. Committed to customer satisfaction, check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your need. For more information, check out benmoss.com. Ben Moss, because love is timeless. You know who else is timeless? Josh Frey-Sam, fantasy football expert. We're all chasing a ring. Josh, and the Bombers get going tomorrow. What's going on? How are you?
What's going on, Huss? Am I all right? Am I the connection's all right?
Yeah, you're looking good.
Good stuff, man. Yes, sir. Yeah, we are chasing a ring, aren't we, in fantasy? Yeah, the Bombers are also chasing a ring on home turf, man, and getting that going tomorrow against the Lions. This is a couple of surprises on the depth chart today, and looking forward to getting into that.
Well, I mean, you're the perfect guy to talk to, considering you've been on the beat throughout camp. Just quickly on this, what do you make of the strange scheduling in this? I mean, one team doesn't play week 1, and it's the Bombers this year. So they haven't played yet. BC has played. They look good, and yet BC had to turn around for a Saturday night game, rest, recoup, and get on the plane for a Thursday night game here in Winnipeg. Is there an advantage or disadvantage on either side because of the unique scheduling of this game in your mind?
Yeah, so we talked to Patty Neufeld actually after the walkthrough today, and he said from his perspective he hates the week 1 bye because it's like, you know, we work so hard in camp and we feel like maybe we're hitting a groove at some point, and then it's just like, okay, well, now you got to rest and you get to sit on your couch for a week. And although you can do the best you can to prepare for the game, you can only do so much when you're not in game action. And so, yeah, for my money, Huss, I mean, that's kind of why I think the slight advantage, if anything, goes to the BC Lions. I mean, you're talking about Winnipeg, who's been sitting around and might need a little bit of time potentially. We see it all the time in these week 1 games. Heck, even Neufeld mentioned it today. He said, some of these teams around the CFL in week 1, you look and, maybe it was a little bit, for lack of a better term, sloppy. It looked a little bit preseason-esque, right? Maybe some teams needed the first half to kind of get off the ground running. And you kind of saw that in the BC Lions game against Edmonton, right? Turnovers deep in Elks territory. And then sure enough, they come out of halftime and it's like 4 straight drives with a touchdown. So you could see that from Winnipeg going on Thursday here. And if that's the case, I mean, that might be tough for a team that's going up against the Lions squad who looked really good and, has kind of gotten over that hurdle already. And they're maybe hitting the ground running. And so can the Bombers afford a slow start? I would think no. And maybe we could very well be in store for that. It's very tough to hit the ground running when you don't, after not playing any kind of preseason game for a couple of weeks. So, I would say, in my opinion, slight advantage goes to the BC Lions here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at BC had been all beaten up. I mean, it's week 1. I mean, I think you're able to handle the short turnaround a heck of a lot better in the first week of the season as opposed to week 12 or week 13.
Yeah.
But listen, this is a unique challenge for the Bombers, not only because of the schedule, but also because Zach Collaros, their starting QB, is unavailable due to the 1-game suspension for not picking up the phone in the offseason when they were looking to give him the test. So Chris Streveler will start. We were expecting that. But let's talk about the depth chart right off the bat. I mean, you've been following this team since they broke rookie camp and got down to business. What stands out to you between who is on and who is off as far as the coaching decisions as to who's going to be wearing the jersey in the first game of the season?
Well, first piece of news, the biggest piece of news has to be that you saw the GTD right beside Neufeld's name, right? And I was there for that practice on Monday.
So what happened?
Yeah, so what happened was it was during team period. It was probably the second or third last play before of team period of the practice before they broke. Chris Streveler dropped back, didn't see anybody open, and decided to scramble up the middle, effectively a fake scramble. up the middle. And as he was going up the middle, he actually just kind of his left knee clipped the back of Patty Neufeld's right knee. And so it was kind of just a freak accident, and Streveler kind of trying to avoid and kind of find the crease, and then in the process his knee just kind of clipped Neufeld. Neufeld dropped obviously in a heap, spent a little bit of time on the ground, but got off, was wearing a noticeable limp, but I thought he was actually no worse for wear because he was on the side talking to the trainer for all of, 60 seconds, and then they just kind of left him be. It didn't look like it was anything super serious. But then he doesn't practice on Tuesday, and then during walkthroughs today, he's talking about, well, we're still 24 hours out. I'm confident, but he's got to see how his body responds, obviously, in the warm up of tomorrow's game. So that's easily the biggest note, and a big piece of that, Huss, for me, is because of how obviously the offensive line is important in any game, but you're talking about the Bombers are already starting a second-year player in Micah Vanterpool at left guard tomorrow. You're talking about they're starting a second-year player in Kendall Randolph at right tackle tomorrow. And now, potentially, who knows if Patty Neufeld can't go. You're talking about veteran Stanley Bryant, veteran Chris Kolonkowski at center, and then a lot of new guys, or a lot of young guys, filling up the rest of that line. And you're going up against what I think is a promising BC Lions front four. And so you talk about a team in the Bombers who are probably going to, if they want to have a chance at this game tomorrow, probably going to have to stay ahead of the sticks, right? You're probably going to have to stay out of those 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8, right? So the offensive line needs to create some holes for Brady Oliveira. They need to create some holes for Chris Streveler to be able to run as well to stay ahead of the sticks. And if they can't do that, well, then I think the BC Lions are going to have a day on defense. So that's the biggest news. As far as other surprises, is guys who are just kind of left off altogether. I look at Dylan Mitchell, the wide receiver, who they doled out big money to in the off season. He's not on the roster at all. So that's kind of interesting.
So did they put him on the one game? There's all sorts of different ways you can sort of get down to your roster. But whether he's really injured, whether this is a paper transaction, the bottom line is, Josh, this was a guy that came in that had high expectations. Did not meet them, to say the least, early on in training camp, and has not been able to dig himself out of the hole that he started in. And
that was the problem, right? Was because after the slow start, it's okay. He admitted it, right? He obviously admitted that he had the slow start, but it's after that, it's like, okay, well, now you were a guy who's brought in to start, obviously, and now you haven't really been working with Zach Klaros or Chris Streveler. Can you really, in the last week of camp, can you really make up that time and perform well enough to get into a starting role? And the obvious answer is no. And so he's still getting paid. He's still making his money for the game, but he's gonna be sitting on the bench, which I can't imagine sits well with the coaching staff or Wade Miller, anybody who dished out the cash and stuff like that to bring this guy in. And also the other I would say surprise would be Jonathan Jones, the linebacker, another linebacker who they brought in off-season acquisition. Not that I was necessarily expecting him to start, but I was definitely expecting him to be a big part of this. And Michael Shea simply just said he'll have his time. You know what I mean? He'll have his time in this, but this was just a decision that they had to make. So there's a couple, for the most part, through and through. There's not too many surprises here, I would say. And the other one, actually, one I forgot was Jamal Woods, American defensive tackle. He's not going to be dressing for this game either. So, but for the most part, there's not too many surprises. But there were a couple of head scratching calls, and you just wonder, what it kind of came down to. Obviously, Dylan Mitchell, it's kind of a little bit more clear cut. But for guys like Jamal Woods, who was looking like a starter for most of the camp, and then a guy like Jonathan Jones, who you figured to be a big part of their linebacker rotation. Those are guys you figure their time is going to come, but you also figured that it was going to be in week 2 here.
Well, when guys like Dylan Mitchell open up opportunities for the others, guys will step up in camp and take advantage of it. And we kind of went into the offensive line, and I'm with you. To me, that is where I'm going to be looking tomorrow. I think the fact that Zach isn't in the game, Chris Streveler is a very different quarterback. To me, the path to victory for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is winning the time of possession battle, is moving the chains, is running the football, a steady dose of Brady Oliveira mixed in with Chris Streveler, and making the Lions respect the run to the point that it opens up the passing game and gives Strev a little bit more comfort when it comes to moving the football. So, you're exactly right. The veteran presence of Patty Neufeld is huge, and hopefully he'll be as close to good to go as possible tomorrow night. But, when you get past it, we obviously know Brady Oliveira is going to be in the background, in the backfield. You got Claircius and Wheatfall as the starting wideouts. Dalton Schoen's back in the slot. Nick Dembski, but it really does seem like Jared Stearns is the guy that took advantage of the opening created by Dylan Mitchell and played his way into the week 1 lineup, and now it's his spot to lose.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's exactly it. Jared Stearns was a guy I think I mentioned on here before too. Day one, yeah. I looked over at Derek Taylor and I was just like, yeah, this I think is my guy for the camp here, and I just want to see how he performs because his crisp route running ability, sure-handedness, he is going to be. I compared him to like that Weston Dressler type of player where he's not obviously not the biggest guy in the world. Not going to outmuscle too many guys. Obviously, necessarily jump the highest or anything like that of anybody, but his compete level and obviously he's a savvy receiver out there to find the soft spots in each defenses, and he's just a pro, as Zach Claros previously told me. So Jared Stearns is absolutely the guy who's kind of taking advantage of this, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see who Strev obviously takes a liking to tomorrow, and how it kind of works out in the in his progressions and stuff like that. But Jareth is absolutely a guy who I think might not necessarily see him pop off the page as far as stats go, but as I mentioned previously, he's going to be a guy who I have just a sneaky feeling that there's going to be a couple of big time 3rd down or 2nd down and long conversions late in the 4th quarter for that guy this season, coming from obviously from Zach Collaros' arm, but who knows? We'll see tomorrow. But it's tough to imagine tomorrow's game, like you mentioned, Huss, like the path to victory here for the Bombers has to be through Strev's legs and Brady's legs. And so, if Chris is throwing more than, I'm going to say 30 times tomorrow, I just don't know if that's necessarily the path to success for the Bombers. If you can keep it to a 25 pass attempt kind of day for Chris and grind and just bleed the clock and get to the 4th quarter in a low scoring, gritty, grinding kind of game, I think that's the path to victory for the Bombers. So that doesn't necessarily leave too many opportunity for a guy like Jared Stearns, but you kind of get where I'm getting at here.
One guy that we knew was going to be on the one game for a while is Peyton Logan, who was brought in to be a backup at the running back position, but most importantly, spark the Bomber return game. He's not there in week number 1.
Right.
It's going to be Trey Vaval. Tell us about Trey Vaval. I mean, a first-year guy out of Minnesota State. What did he do to sort of be the next man up, and what can we expect from the return game on both punts and kicks?
Yeah, obviously the return game is an area that this team needs to get right this season. There's no secret that they struggled in that territory last year and ended up with Lucky Whitehead as their guy. Who Lucky's a great guy, but obviously just probably we saw in the West Final in the Grey Cup had fumbles in back-to-back games there. So that's that is an area that they absolutely need to get right this season. Now, Peyton Logan was going to be the guy, but Trey Vaval beat out. I'm going to say it's if I remember right, there's six different guys who the Bombers were trying out back there throughout camp, and Trey was absolutely sure-handed. He made a mistake in the preseason opener. Didn't fumble or anything like that, but in the first preseason game against Saskatchewan, the Bombers and really everybody across the CFL, they want to see you catch the ball in the air. But in American football, a lot of guys let the ball hit the ground first. So Trey did that, went back to his American roots for a second. The ball hit the ground, and then he scooped it up and ran, and he got an earful from Mike Miller and Mike O'Shea on the sideline after that, and he didn't do it again. He kind of took that, and he made a couple of great catches to field the punts. And in the second preseason game, obviously, you could tell that the Bombers were really liking Trey, but in the second preseason game, he busted off a 93-yard return from deep in the Bombers' territory, caught this ball, took it almost the distance, got tripped up by, I think it was the punter, really like inside the Saskatchewan's 10-yard line. But that play actually got called back for a clipping penalty on the Bombers. So, but again, Trey flashed not only in camp, but his speed, he's got clear speed. Not necessarily the start and stop of Janarian Grant, but he's got maybe that kind of similar type of straightaway speed. And so he showed that in camp, and then also with making a couple of big plays in game. I thought Trey's kind of made his mark and obviously proven that he's a guy that can hopefully bring some juice to this unit before Peyton Logan kind of gets back. That's how he's making his mark on this team so far.
Josh Frey-Sam with us from the Winnipeg Free Press, getting ready for Bombers and Lions tomorrow, Princess Auto Stadium, the home opener for Winnipeg, and the final CFL team to kick off their year after the other 8 played in week number 1. They're going to have to deal with Nathan Rourke, who looked amazing in week 1, especially in the second half, which means this defense is going to come in somewhat untested, having to go up against, one of the top offensive threats in the league. Now, we've seen a number of familiar faces, but, I'm particularly interested in is how the corners fare. We have Terrell Bonds and Marquise Bridges on the corners right now. Tell us about the battle for those spots right now and, how the Bombers are feeling about that secondary that goes in, along with, Parker, Holm, and Nichols, who will be supporting them in pass protection and defense.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough test. Like the Lions have a clearly, and we knew coming into the year there's going to be Justin McInnis. We also knew about Hatcher, right? But then you've got a couple of other guys who kind of pop off the page here last week as well. And so now you're looking at the BC Lions receiving core, and you're like, okay, well, if these guys can kind of get some juice going from their tertiary and their fourth options here, well, this could be a very potent offense to deal with here, especially with Nathan Rourke if he continues to look the way he's looked. So on the defense side of the ball, there's absolutely, that's also what I mean when I'm saying, can Bombers defense afford to start slow? No, that they can't. I mean, they're going to be tested early and often here with this passing attack. And so Marquise Bridges is a guy, I mean, he saw time last year. Terrell Bonds obviously saw a ton of time last year. It was kind of like the training camp. I don't know if I want to call him a darling, go so far as call him that, but he was kind of the guy who made a name for himself in training camp last season, came out, made some plays, and obviously earned his spot. Well, Marquise Bridges was kind of the next guy up after Terrell Ford left for free agency. Well, Marquise Bridges kind of made his presence known very early, and obviously and the Bombers didn't move him off of that corner spot all camp. Like it was Marquise Bridges and Terrell Bonds, and it didn't change. So you talk about some of the camp battles elsewhere. I mean, I thought maybe this could be something that we look at as being a camp battle, but like it was locked in from pretty much day one of camp. It was Bonds, it was Bridges, it was Jamal Parker at safety, Evan Holm obviously, and Dietrich Nichols, and that was the secondary, and that's how it's been from day one, and that's how it's going to continue to be, I think, until they give the coaching staff a reason otherwise. I liked Cam Allen, the safety. He could maybe be a guy who sees time in place of Jamal Parker this season, but as it stands right now, this 5 that we've seen throughout all of camp, this is the 5. And then you've got Kyrie Wilson, Reddick Cramdy, and Tony Jones at the linebacker spot. And then again, it was kind of along the front, James Vaughters and Willie Jefferson at the ends, along with Jake Thomas. And then it was kind of more of a battle for that last interior defensive lineman spot. Was it going to be a Cam Lawson? Was it going to be a Jamal Woods? Was it going to be, Tanner Schmeckel, or who they have listed here for week 2 is Devin Adams. So there's a battle there. That is where I think we could see a lot of rotation happening, obviously, but all the other spots until they give them a reason not to. Bridges and Bonds, those are going to be your guys, man. And, they're going to have their hands full tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is trial by fire. I will say this. I mean, while they might be newer names to a lot of Bomber fans, these guys were with the club last year. And, I think that, it's so easy just to focus on the game action. But those of you that are there at practice every day that see, I mean, a lot of these guys, they literally play that first year learning the system, earning the trust of the coaches, and then many of the offseason moves are made knowing that we kind of have our guy that we're ready to give the opportunity going forward to. And certainly based on the way everything shook out at camp, that's the situation at the corner position.
Yeah, and you're talking about 2 second-year guys, right? I mean, like your bank, Michael Shea talks about it all the time. It's talked about at every level. I mean, that second-year jump, quote unquote, right? Whatever that means, you got a deeper understanding. You're more comfortable. You're more confident. Whatever the case, everything that goes into it. that second year jump is noticeable most of the time, and that's what they're banking on here tomorrow, man, and throughout the rest of the season, because they don't have those corners playing at their top. I mean, this is going to be. It starts up front. Don't get me wrong. It starts up front with James Vaughters and Willie Jefferson getting some pressure and all those guys. But if they can't cover long, I mean, this is going to be a Bombers defense that I think a lot of people are high on, including myself this season. But there's still definitely room for question marks around here, and so we'll see how it looks in game action.
Yeah, we'll get some answers tomorrow against one of the most potent offenses in Canadian Football League, Nathan Rourke and the BC Lions in game number 1 in week number 2 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Josh, while we've got you here, we'll get into some more NFL talk as we get closer to the season and fantasy season as well. But
Yes.
we finally got some clarity. Aaron Rodgers is a Pittsburgh Steeler. As a Packer guy, I'm sure you've got a unique viewpoint on this, but what do you make of the fit? I mean, Pittsburgh's been a team that's had a really elite defense and just hasn't had a guy to take them over the top. Is there anything left in the tank for Aaron Rodgers, or is this something that might be good enough to get them to 8-9?
No, I think it'll be more than that. Like I am. Don't get me wrong. Do I think is Aaron going to go out and compete for an MVP this year? No, I mean I don't think he will. But this guy, I just can't help but get over. He had an Achilles injury. Like, and I get it. Like, and that's the same reason why Kirk Cousins as well. Like wherever he gets traded to, if Kirk gets traded somewhere this offseason too, I still think that Kirk could have put together a good year. I mean, these guys are another year removed from an Achilles injury, and so even though they're older, I just still can't help but think that there was something holding them back still a little bit last year. And I thought Aaron finished the season last year really great. Actually, he put up some great numbers. So I'm optimistic and high on him going into this year. I understand that Pittsburgh Steelers fans might feel a little bit underwhelmed about a 41-year-old quarterback coming into play, especially like this, the team that has been looking for the answer since Ben Roethlisberger left, and it's been no answers whatsoever. So I understand that, but make no mistake. I mean, this is easily the best quarterback that Pittsburgh has had since Big Ben. And maybe even if you include some Big Ben's later days as well with the Steelers. So I'm high on him. I think that this is absolutely a team that can make the playoffs. I also think the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't done adding. I would be shocked if we talk about the fit, Huss. I mean, I like the fit in Arthur Smith's offense. I like DK Metcalf as an option for him, but DK Metcalf is also a different style of receiver where I don't know if it necessarily meshes super well with Aaron Rodgers' style. He needs kind of like that quick get off that Devontae Adams. We saw Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, how well they worked with him. That quick get off creates separation. He needs that guy. He can get the ball out of his hands on a quick slant and stuff like that. DK Metcalf isn't quite that guy. And so I think a Keenan Allen, that's the name I'll throw out there, who's still a free agent. I still think Keenan Allen could find his way to Pittsburgh, and in which case I think that could be some magic. And because this Pittsburgh Steelers receiving core is looking a little sad after DK Metcalf, but this offense I like it enough to get to potentially even, I say this a little bit cautiously, potentially double-digit wins and maybe even win a playoff game.
Metcalf's fascinating in that, I kind of think of him as he's sort of like the home run hitter. Like, you're swinging for the fences when you go to DK, but I mean, you're not moving the chains in the football consistently with him. And it would have been fascinating to see Rodgers play with George Pickens. Yeah. But I think Pickens proved himself to be just too much of a pain in the ass for Mike Tomlin to deal with. And now he's a Dallas Cowboy, which is the perfect place for guys with that rap to go to. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, what would we've set the over-under at like 3.5 weeks before we saw a sideline blow up between Pickens and DK? Like, I mean, that's just seriously, that it would have been halftime of week 3 or something like that we would have seen that. But no, I think Pickens getting out is, again, he doesn't even suit Rodgers' style anyways. I mean, I love the move for Dallas. So let me say that too. I do love the fit there at Dallas. But Pittsburgh needs another receiver. I like the rookie running back too, Caleb Johnson. Like, they got good pieces over there. It's just they still need another one though. That's Rodgers and DK aren't going to be able to carry the offense like Rodgers and Devontae Adams did back in the day with the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, but I think I'm sort of with you. I think there's the potential for the offense to be good enough that they won't need like a TJ Watt strip sack for a touchdown every game if they're going to win. I mean, the defense can just actually stop the team and get the ball back, and the offense might be able to do something. And I think most Steeler fans, while they may have some trepidation, I think they'll be more than willing to go in on this as opposed to, welcome to 2025. Your starting quarterback is Mason Rudolph.
Thank you. And and on that note, I was like, let's be real here too. Like TJ Watt could very well, their best player, one of the best players in the National Football League, could very well be playing his last season in Pittsburgh. He's looking for a contract, and we'll see how that turns out. But you're talking about this guy. Your defense is going to take a significant hit after this season. Very well could. And so that stellar defense that we've come to know in Pittsburgh, like it could very well take a step back and not be as dominant as it will be hopefully this season. You talk about that, and I mean, yeah, Mason Rudolph. So you want to maximize that defense while you have it, and Mason Rudolph is not maximizing that defense.
Hey, just on the way out, while we're talking about Rodgers, the signing did give us an early clubhouse leader for NFL quote of the year when Myles Garrett of the rival Cleveland Browns was asked about what did he think about Aaron Rodgers coming back, and he said, "Oh, it's a great opportunity to take him to the graveyard."
That's unbelievable, man. I love it. AFC North, man, just gas on the pedal, man. I absolutely love it.
Well, and the Bengals are still doing Bengal things. I mean, Hendrickson's out. Their first-round pick is pissed off, and the vets on the team are saying, you know what, you're totally within your right. Stick around. Like, the Bengals going to Bengal. And then Cleveland's still a fascinating team. You got old man Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
And then their two quarterbacks that they picked. Shedur's apparently had a pretty good camp so far. Cleveland, like, do I expect much of them? No. But I'll tell you what, it'll be hard not to pay attention to them as we get into the season, and certainly just into training camp.
No question. Yeah, man. And I'm not surprised Shedur's had a good mini camp. I mean, listen, I wasn't expecting Shedur. Like, I'm very much in the boat of Shedur's upside is kind of limited in the NFL. I don't think that he's ever going to necessarily be a top 10 quarterback, whatever. But this is a guy who should not have fell to the 5th round of this draft. So it is absolutely no shock to me that he is kind of found his way into the competition here and kind of made some noise early on here. So and Dylan Gabriel, that pick didn't make any sense to me, especially if you're going to take Shedur's later. But yeah, Joe Flacco, and so by the end of camp though, there should be probably Pickett or Flacco should be cut, in my opinion, and they'll run with 3 quarterbacks, I think. It'll just kind of be between, if Flacco's not the starter, he'll get cut. Pickett's not the starter, I could see him getting cut. And for fantasy purposes, I kind of hope it is Flacco who gets the nod. But
oh yeah, I mean, hey, he can. Hey, listen, few guys throw the deep ball like Joe, and I had heard that they may decide to move on from Dylan Gabriel. I mean, if there is interest, they might be able to recoup that pick if there is someone else. But Shedur will get his chance, but I do think it'll be Joe that'll be getting the first snap. Man, I mean, we're just in June. I can't wait for some more convos like this over the next couple months as we get closer to draft time and the upcoming part of the season. But hey, tomorrow the focus is on Princess Auto Stadium. First game of the year for the Bombers. Josh, keep up the great work at the Winnipeg Free Press. Thanks so much for doing this. Can't wait for our next convo on WST.
Appreciate it, fellas. Take care.
Take it easy. There's Joshua Frey-Sam. The Back Bacon Brief as well. I'm a subscriber now to it. Josh, for those of you that are fantasy nerds that are already looking ahead to your drafts and auctions, some great stuff that he's firing out every day. All right, it is major week. U.S. Open coming up. Geoff Fienberg's going to jump on with us in just a couple of minutes. Speaking of the NFL and the kickoff of the CFL season, Royal Sports is ready for you, for all you football fans, to not only get your new gear for the Bombers, but also all the new NFL gear, which is going to be coming on, supporting your favorite team for the next couple months before NFL kickoff. And while you're at it, dominate summer with bikes, soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, runners, you name it. Royal Sports has it. And for you campers, you got to check out their amazing Yeti section. Yeti coolers, literally every single Yeti product that is made will certainly help you out on those hot summers away from home. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway, at Royal Sports Winnipeg on Insta for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. No hockey tonight. We do have NBA Finals, game number 3. If you're looking to get out to watch that, pop by your local Boston Pizza. Of course, you'll enjoy that new playoff menu right now featuring the Canadian All-Star Poutine. Wing flights are back. The Scoville Showdown for you crazies that love it hot. The new pizzas, the triple pep, the wingman. It's all there waiting for you along with an ice-cold schooner at your local BP. Staying at home, order online, hot and fresh to your door at bostonpizza.com. All right, we're going to dive into the U.S. Open and what carnage is to come with Geoff Fienberg. Just before we do that, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's get ready for the U.S. Open and welcome in my pal Geoff Fienberg, who I was just hanging out with on the weekend at the big live show for with Pat and the boys. Fienberg, great to have you back on the program and great to see you on the weekend. Man, that was a heck of a lot of fun getting together with the gang. By the way, if you go to Mayo Media Network, you'll be able to see the live show. It was a live Cuss Corner. Started off with Tim and Pat. And Geoff and Garion, Cam Stewart came in, Pizzola. I mean, the entire pack was there. But great seeing you on the weekend, man. That was a heck of a lot of fun, and always great to get together in person. Oh, hold on a sec. We got you muted there. Is that on
Now
our
he's
screen?
good. Now he's good.
Okay, perfect. What's
Always
up?
great to see you, Huss. Too few and far between. I don't know that that's up just yet. There might need to be an extensive edit. The people in the house were treated to a real show. Anyone that attended, it was great to see them. I think their expectations were exceeded. That's what happens when Cam Stewart wants to, just sort of carry the load. And
He's on fire 24/7. I mean, we were at the dinner the night before. He was on 11 out of 10, and it never seemed to abate the entire weekend.
No, it didn't. Not one bit. But I think there's a couple things Mayo Media just wants to edit that'll be Easter eggs for the people who were actually there.
No doubt about it. It was really cool to see the whole crew. And I got to tell you, I mean, obviously our space here on Winnipeg Sports Talk is very, targeted at our local audience. And we've got great support from here in the province. And so many people that have connections here are regular listeners from elsewhere. But, man, it speaks to what you guys have built over the years. The lengths that people traveled to be there for that show on the weekend. That really blew my mind, and it's a tip of the cap to all of you.
Yeah, people traveled from all over the states, California. There was a crew of boys from Texas that came from Houston that came in and other places all around. And, yeah, one of the fans said to me, this was my eras to being here. So I'm like, go tell that to my wife. My wife.
Even the wives were out too. It was great to meet yours. And
it was lovely. And you even caught that ball game on the Thursday, and the Jays are mini wagon. So,
dude, your Jays, I see the lid right now. I mean, vibes are high around there right now. A 10-9 win last night. Like, the bats have finally woken up. They're getting some pitching, and it's kind of funny. This feels even more fun, I think, for Jays fans to watch because, just with the direction and the trajectory of the team and the doom and gloom going into the season, I'm not sure a lot of people thought that they'd be in a playoff spot and, challenging in the AL East right now. And, the low expectations, I think, have sort of created a pretty fun vibe around this team right now.
It's a very likable group, Huss. A lot of young guys giving it their all. And they're on a little hot streak without Varsho at the moment. Santander, going injured, but going through what he was going through. But we've seen all over baseball, from Willie Adames, Juan Soto, a lot of guys in new places that are just getting acclimated who got the money. So I think the Jays can expect, some some contributions, and it's a little too early. I'll wait till July, but yeah, there's probably going to be a move coming. I don't think Rogers is gonna sit on this. Had they not signed Vladdy, you'd almost guarantee they would go trade for another arm, and bolster some parts of the lineup. Really feeling all in. But I believe it's also been a great year on the farm for the Jays. I'm not the person to go through that, but some incredible stories up and down their organization this year, both at the big club and throughout.
Jays are actually playing right now. I looked and they were down 2-0 early. I was going to maybe sneak in a little live bet over at Coolbet. I missed the opportunity because it's now 5-2 Toronto. And Ernie Clement homered again.
The people are asking, Hustler, is Kirk elite?
Alejandro, 100%.
Right, he has more hard hit percentage balls than Aaron Judge. He's number 1 in the American League. Something is going on here. He's far and away their best player. Yeah, they're a mini wagon at the moment.
Guys like us can appreciate Kirk as well because he's built like a hot water tank with legs and somehow manages to make it happen. But hey, listen, that extension looks like some real money well spent. Hey, listen, before we get to the golf, I would like to ask you about a post that you put up earlier today. A commercial shoot next door, somewhat inconvenienced, however, an offer made to give you a sizable amount of cash that will certainly be blown on the U.S. Open if accepted to use your driveway for the next 2 days. How did the negotiations go and what is the result?
Yeah, quick story here. So my next door neighbor, they're having a commercial shot at their house over the next few days. I find out it's a Swiffer commercial. Who shame on whoever would allow like a commercial crew to just parade through their house for 3 days. Like, it's just such an annoyance. It's an inconvenience on everyone on the street. That being said, they made an offer. They wanted my driveway for 3 days, Hustler. And I originally didn't want to be complicit. I didn't want my fellow neighbors to see that I'm helping this get off. I'm helping them park or store their cables or equipment or food services, whatever. Maybe I'll walk through the craft service. Those are always pretty good. But nonetheless, I didn't want to be complicit. I didn't want to aid and abet this operation. That being said, I realized I would be inconvenienced whether I took the money or not. If I don't play ball, I'm still going to have a hard time getting in and out of my street, out of my driveway. So I might as well play ball. So I accepted the deal. They even needed it for a third day, so we're getting greased for that. I accepted the Procter & Gamble blood money. Sorry if I ruined you. I hope, you got good local sponsors, not a conglomerate like that. So I hope I didn't burn any bridges on the WST. I took the money. I took the money, and I'm going to lose it on the U.S. Open, I guess.
Now, what? Just before we get to where these funds will be put to, so if they're using your driveway, do you have access to your garage? What will you be doing transportation-wise, and where will your vehicles be if you have sold out and allowed them the usage of your pad?
Yeah, they're just being parked up the street. My fat ass can walk. It's just more of like inconvenient. We got 3 young kids and my wife and all. But we got neighbors like a bit down the block who we can park in their driveway. So yeah, it's not like a horrible inconvenience, but I think it's pretty low rent. No, I know. Without knowing all the details, like who would want that running through their home, the home they live in?
Swiffer taking over the neighborhood in Fienberg land out in the GTA. Well, listen, I mean, it is a nice development. A little extra deposit into the account before the U.S. Open of all things. I wonder if this was like the week of the Mexico Open, whether you would have been open to the offer, but it's a major and we're going to need it. Listen, we've heard the reports, but for people that maybe don't follow as closely as us, tell us about what you expect at Oakmont tomorrow, because this ain't your normal PGA Tour track.
No, this ain't your normal PGA Tour track, and for the most part, Huss, this ain't your normal U.S. Open. This is Oakmont Golf and Country Club, highly regarded as maybe the most difficult golf course in America, maybe the most difficult in the world. Just to put into perspective, the odds makers have 277.5 for the winning player, winning score. I'm not great at math, but I had it done for me. That means 2.5 under par, right? The amount of players under par that the books are asking for, 4. So that just puts into perspective what the sports books are projecting this week. Now, I'm expecting there to be tons of carnage, huge numbers everywhere. If you ask me to pick that 277.5, I would say under, simply because I'm always of the belief that one of the great players will play great. One of the great players will leave us asking, is he on a different course? We were here in 16. Dustin Johnson shot 4 under, 5 if you don't include that sketchy penalty that he was happy to give them. And I believe at that time, how many players were Dustin Johnson, like had that talent and that skill set, Hustler? You could count them on 2 or 3 fingers. Now, how many guys in the top 25 have that DJ mold, right? We're prototypes of the game that Dustin plays. So I'm of the opinion it'll be like that, and I gotta say a thank you to you, Huss. Memory lane for one moment. 2016 Oakmont. You were the first person to ever have me on like any sort of outlet to like specifically talk about golf. You were still doing your show, you guys over at TSN, right? That was a few years before all things went there. But yeah, so before the 2016 U.S. Open, I joined you as a guest. That's the first time I was ever asked to be a guest on anything to talk golf, and you better believe we nailed Dustin Johnson.
You know it. That is, it's great. I mean, I knew we've been doing this for a long time, but the memories, yeah. So Oakmont. I mean, we've been seeing I saw Rory do an interview, said that he played a practice round, shot 81, and finished birdie. We've seen guys picturing just dropping the ball into the rough, and I mean, it's basically a chip out almost everywhere. Like, let me ask you this: we often talk about the bombers, the guys can bomb and gouge, but might it be accuracy off the tee that'll be the true determining factor as to who's in it?
So that's a great question. And when you look at 2016 Hustler and you go past Dustin Johnson, the next name were accuracy players, right? Jim Furyk, Sergio Garcia, Kevin Na, Zach Johnson, David Lingmert. Those were the types of guys that filtered out the rest of the top 10. And I'm probably forgetting a plotter or two. Obviously, Shane Lowry, a part of that Open. So I could see that as the lane, but I still think distance will be the premium. Guys that can hit it long, guys that can find the fairway. Even the accuracy guys are going to miss a few. And when you got to hack it out 15 yards and get up and down from, 100 yards, I'd rather be doing that than 130. That being said, Hustler, just the golf fan in me is very fascinated by what this modern equipment, modern golf ball will do at Oakmont. We'd all agree since we were here in 16, the gains that have been made in the technology surrounding the sport, almost to an embarrassing level. And Oakmont is the great test and maybe a litmus test to see if we're overreacting with maybe rollback or if we've got a true issue that will absolutely be addressed. So that is one of the side plots as a golf fan that I will be fascinated by this week.
Let me ask you, I'm just pulling Coolbet up here. And, there's only 4 players that are less than 22-1. Scotty Scheffler is an almost ridiculous plus 280. I mean, he is that heavy of a favorite in this field in a major championship. And Bryson is 6-1, although Pat doing the people a favor. If you do like Bryson, jump over to the exclusives because the PMA booses Bryson to 10-1.
Hey, hope he doesn't make Coolbet. Coolbet might pay bigly.
Well, listen, if Bryson gets it done, there'll be a lot of people jumping on that. You got Rahm at 12 and Rory at 13. I think that has a lot to do with his blow up last weekend at the Canadian Open and just where he's at right now. But, I mean, thoughts on the Scheffler number and those other three guys before we get to that next tier?
So I'm not betting Scotty Scheffler, nor am I betting Bryson, but I feel sort of paralyzed by them, Huss. We'll get to it in a moment. I came into the week with 2 futures, and I've only been able to make 1 bet this week because I am so afraid of Bryson. I'm so afraid of Scotty. I'm just not willing to bet them. That probably says that you guys should. As it pertains to Rory, Huss, I think they'll he's that NFL team. He's that basketball team that he just needs to survive that boxer. He's got to survive the first round and a half, right? Because his floor in the first round feels so low. But his U.S. Open track record is immaculate. His ability with the driver is immaculate. It is kind of lost on him as he's enjoyed his life post-winning that Masters and competing that. And now he's got to find that competitive drive. But boy, oh boy, if after Thursday Rory is just sitting in the pack, didn't blow up, didn't run away with awesomeness, but is just lingering in the pack, people who didn't bet him are going to start to think he can win. That's how quickly people's opinions will change of Rory. If he survives Thursday, he can easily go on to win this thing. If I'm betting Rory, please God, have a good first 2 hours of this golf tournament, because we know what it's like when it's not.
Yeah, well, we saw it last Friday. An 8 on a par 4, I think, on his 5th hole, and at one point it looked like he wasn't even going to break 80. I think he ended up finishing at 79, and then obviously was done, which might be a good thing, honestly, for Oakmont to give him this extra prep time, a couple less days on the course the week before. I am noticing I got Oberg yesterday at 27-1. He's down to 22, along with Xander, who, I'll be honest, Geoff, I mean, I know he hasn't been maybe at his double major level of last year so far this year, but I do kind of feel like his game, the complete game that he has, people are sleeping on him a little bit. But thoughts on the group in the middle? Aberg and Schauffele at 22 now, Morikawa 25, Joachim Niemann, we're all waiting for his big breakout in the majors, 28, and Sepp Straka, I think Pat's on an 80-1. Sepp's all the way down to 30 just after the brilliant season that he's had. And then we may as well include these 233s of Lowry and Tommy Fleetwood. Anyone that catches your fancy in there? I know you've talked about Niemann for a while, though we've still been waiting to see it happen in a major.
So the only bet that I've made this week is Ludwig Aberg, and I don't love it, but I believe he has the driver to compete and contend if his driver is on. He has shown Hustler. The guy finished second in his first ever trip to the Masters. He finished was hunting at his first ever U.S. Open at Pinehurst. When a lot of players are on the same greens with a lack of experience, I actually really do trust Aberg to have an advantage there. But his iron play hasn't been great, and there are questions. I don't love it. It's the only bet I've been able to punch in this week. I come in also with my Niemann future at 40-1 and a Ty Hatton future at 70-1. I love Yako this week. The course really might be too hard for him. His little arms might not have the brute strength that you've seen in the historic Oakmont winners. Just look at who's won here recently. Hosses. Dustin Johnson, Angel Cabrera, Ernie Els, shithouse sort of strength, which makes you like Scheffler even more, what we know he can sometimes do out of that rough, and obviously Bryson. So that's my concern with Niemann, but my eyeballs believe the talent. I bet on the talent. He hits it a mile. He hits it straight. I hope he's ready for the moment. And in 2016, DJ had yet to win a major. I looked at that Oakmont logo and I told you of the blind squirrel, the squirrel finding his nut. To me, that nut finder this year is Yako Niemann from Liv. I've got 40. I still like it at 30 in a round. And I have a Hatton future. He's not going to hit it a mile, but if it turns into that accuracy toughness thing, I think I'd rather have him than anybody. And Hatton's joked, Hustler. People think U.S. Open be horrible for him because of how mentally fragile he is and how dramatic he can be. Well, he says, listen, I'm always crazy. This course brings everyone else to my level, right? Like, I'm always alone on this level. Now you're all coming to my level. So he actually feels it's a bit of an equalizer. He will obviously blow up. But if this thing just turns into the gauntlet that some are projecting it to be, I actually think he might be a perfect pick.
Geoff Fienberg with us, getting ready for tee-off tomorrow at Oakmont for the U.S. Open. This is a course, and you just kind of laid out some of the recent names we've seen. We're usually not going deep down the odds board for a winner of the U.S. Open. But I will ask you, because of how short of a number Scotty is, we're seeing bigger numbers than usual on a lot of players. I'm looking at this group at 66. I've already in on Keegan Bradley. Sam Burns was very good last week and comes in pretty good form, and he can bomb it. There's Connors, there's Ben Griffin, there's Russell Henley, Hideki, all at 60s. And then a former winner in Matt Fitzpatrick at 80, Harris English, who a lot of people seem to be on. Anybody in that 60-plus area that maybe you'll invest in now that you have completed your negotiations with Swiffer and have a little bit extra in the kitty?
So I agree. Like at a U.S. Open, 50 and above is a true long shot. Like it's not a normal week. Corey Connors, for the obvious reasons of just being able to keep it clean up and down the course, 2-putt for par, move to the next, right? Like we're not in a birdie party. I think a lot of what Corey does can be a big strength. I'm also really high on Sam Burns. I think there's money to be made on Sam this week. A polarizing loss at the end, at the wire. I had him last week, a big kick in the nuts. But he is showing right now that he is an elite driver, an elite putter, and the irons are trending. So he sort of has the player type that you absolutely want. And both in Memorial and Canada, it is showing that it is headed absolutely in the right direction. Also, I know it's tough to say this after he missed a 5-footer for the win, but it is statistically proven one of the, if not the best putter on the PGA Tour. So you're trusting him to lag putt. You're just trusting him to get that that ball in the hole sooner than everybody else, Huss. So Sam Burns from back there, but even going farther, I don't mind Taylor Pendrith. I think Cam Young can have a good week as well. I've bet Cam Young 80-1 Hustler without Scotty, Bryson, Rory, and Rahm. I know I'm giving up a lot there. Obviously, I don't trust Cam Young to win, but I can see Cam Young finishing second. The way he's driving and ironically putting right now. My hardo golf take that we'll be talking about on Monday that has nothing to do with the winner is we'll be talking about Cam Young being at Bethpage for the Ryder Cup again. Even though he hasn't won, we'll be seeing a Cam Young in form needs to go to Bethpage. Even with 0 PGA Tour wins on his resume, I think that's a conversation that starts happening again next week.
Well, a great performance this week would help him out big time because Bethpage is another big boy course that, could compare. I mean, it's been a U.S. Open course before that, we could definitely be looking at as we head into the Ryder. Well, Fienberg, cannot wait. What, you guys often will fire it up on Fridays for a little cut sweat. You're going to be doing that? Maybe we'll jump over and hit you guys with a raid if you're doing it. What are the plans?
Yeah, I believe we are going to do it. It's tough to know the exact time because I want to see what time they sort of finish up on Thursday. But, yeah, I mean, the cut at the U.S. Open is going to be a gong show. It's going to be a big number making the cut, and some big names will have made those big numbers, and it'll be going home. So as you're sweating your 6-for-6 DK lineups or watching the golf, come join us late on Friday.
Yeah, and fans of Geoff and Pat and the gang, make sure to keep your eyes out for the live show, which will be coming out right away. And, of course, they do have the full U.S. Open show and a wrap from the weekend. Dude, it was great to see you again. Thanks for jumping on today. May that Swiffer money multiply once you hit the sports book for the U.S. Open tomorrow. Thanks for doing this, dude.
Thanks, Huss. Anytime.
At G Fienberg 17, gang. Give him a follow, and again, at Mayo Media Network for all the content that Geoff and the gang that are putting out. All right, let's get Remis back in here. I do want to, we got to get to our picks for the track tonight, but I should mention our golf reports. We can't wait to get going tomorrow on the U.S. Open. Brought to you by Breezy Bend, home of the 2025 Manitoba Open this year. We'll be doing some shows out there when the tournament comes on. I cannot wait for that. If you're interested in finding out more about potentially making Breezy your long-term golfing home for you and your family, give our pal Corey Johnson a call at the clubhouse about getting on the waiting list, or find out more online at breezybend.ca. Hey, for you golf fans out there, why not question of the day for Not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray? This is your time to etch yourself in the chat, timed, so you can make your pick. Who do you got winning the U.S. Open? Is it going to be the Chalk? Is it going to be Scotty Scheffler? Is it going to be Big Bad Bryson? Or is it somebody else? Let us know in the chat who you got for the Why Not question of the day for Not AutoCorp. All right, let's get Remis back in here. And Remo, I'm interested to see what people have to say about some of these. Apparently, Pags has a new trade bait board. We're getting lots of boards coming out today. Of course, we talked about the DFO with Matt Larkin and the Daily Faceoff guys, and now the fourth period getting into the mix as well.
It's the Stanley Cup off day. We've got that extra day. This is the perfect time to come out with your trade boards.
Drop a list.
And to drop a list, free agent lists, any breaking news, possible trade with the rumored Chris Kreider to Anaheim. But David Pagnotta of the fourth period, guest on this program often, he's got his summer trade watch list. And usually, in the past, we've seen a number of Jets on the list. Those days are gone. I was scrolled through very quickly to see teams reportedly linked. He did not have the Jets linked to Marco Rossi, didn't have them linked to Keandre Miller, but I scrolled all the way down to 13. He had Winnipeg linked to Mario Ferraro, saying teams that reached out during the season will poke around this offseason. He's entering the last year of the contract. Hasn't asked for a trade, but would he be open to a change of scenery? He's got Colorado, Tampa Bay, Winnipeg, Calgary linked to Mario Ferraro, the defenseman on San Jose. And I kept going. We've talked a lot about center here, and he's got Winnipeg linked to J.G. Pageau of the New York Islanders. Got a $5 million cap hit. He's going into the last year of his contract. He does have a 16-team no trade list, and they have a new GM there, Matthew Darsh. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how possible that is, as he's got the no trade list. But I scrolled through. I was like, hey, is Winnipeg on here? And we will see.
Marco Rossi, who we spoke about with Larkin's number 5 on this list. Pagnotta says Minnesota's actively looking to move Rossi, who's believed to be looking for a contract in the $45 to $50 million range. RFA this July, and Wild GM Bill Guerin has been taking calls on him. Teams reportedly linked are the Flyers, the Habs, the Canucks, the Predators, and the Calgary Flames. Interesting that Mason Marchment is on this list. Talking about the Stars looking to shed some salary and create cap space, he might become a casualty of their tight proximity to the cap. He has some no trade protection in his contract as he enters the final year of his deal, but Dallas is looking to move him. Toronto, Carolina, and Vancouver mentioned there as well. There is some interesting players on this list, though. I mean, Rasmus Anderson, who I would love to see in a Jet jersey. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Keandre Miller as well. Jonathan Marchessault in Nashville. And, of course, Elias Pettersson. And, as Dave says here, Rio, the Canucks have said they'd prefer to keep Pettersson, but Vancouver's open to taking calls. Pettersson has full no movement clause that kicks in July 1, and his trade value is at a low point, so moving him may prove to be difficult. But we've heard Buffalo, Detroit, Minnesota, Ottawa, and Columbus all interested in the services of EP40. And again, as we look around this list and look at these guys that have experience producing in the NHL and play center, can't help but think how the Winnipeg Jets might be able to try to get into the mix on some of these players.
Yeah, Elias Paterson, he's got a no move, I think, kicking in shortly. So we'll have to see what happens there. And you mentioned Keandre Miller. Frank Saravalli noted the Rangers are in an interesting, tough spot. They're trying to move on from Chris Kreider's $6.5 million contract. Because they're starting the offseason with $8.4 million in cap space. So they still have to sign Keandre Miller, Matt Rempe, and Will Cully. And that's why Matt Larkin mentioned Will Cully as an offer sheet candidate. And Frank wonders if they're doing this to make a swing at Nikolai Ehlers this summer. And that was Frank Saravalli in Daily Faceoff. So I'm curious about a landing spot for Nikolai Ehlers. Would the Rangers be an option? Who else? Carolina seems to be in on everyone. As you talk with Matt about that, they've got a ton of cap space left and a lot of guys signed, so they're in a really good position too. So the offseason rumor mill in full swing as we head towards the draft. And July 1, we're like almost 2 weeks away from July 1 here, but we still have Stanley Cup Final Game 4 tomorrow night.
You know it. All right, let's get to some fan feedback on the in the chat. Brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. No fees, folks. What you see is what you pay. And of course, we use Fans First all season long for Jets games. You can use it now for Bomber games as well. And this actually might be advantageous because the Bombers have just announced that there are less than 500 tickets available for tomorrow night's home opener. So if you don't have your tickets, jump on it. And even last minute, if you have extra seats, if you're looking for some, Fans First is the place to get them. And again, by fans, for fans, no fees when you deal with Fans First. Great customer service as well. Derek Schmidt saying, beautiful. What'll that be? 8 sellouts in a row? Unbelievable. Let's see. What have we got? We got some talk about betting in the chat. I guess I have been guilty of betting people on the show before at times. Matt Hyman says they're talking Nechash. How do you pronounce that guy's name?
Natchez.
Natchez. We just want to call him Nakash, but that's not Natchez. Yeah. He's got 1 year left as an RFA. Sounds like, I guess he's a UFA at the end of this one, right, Reem?
No, he's an RFA. I'm pretty sure, isn't he? Or no, but let me double check that.
Yeah, double check on that because he did sign the bridge deal.
Yeah, with Carolina.
But I think that means that he's still got the 1 more year, although he'll have arbitration.
No, you're right. Sorry, he is a UFA after this deal. So yeah, he signed the 2-year deal to take him to UFA, and reports are he's not happy in Colorado. And if you're not happy beside Nathan McKinnon on the top line, can you ever be happy?
That's a great question, and he obviously wants his money like everybody does. But the grass isn't always greener. And lo and behold, here's Colorado in the exact same position they were last year with Rantanen, with 1 year left on their deal. That did not go well. It seems some love for Corey Connors. And listen, Corey isn't the bomber, but man, he is so consistent, plays such great placement golf. I could totally see Corey Connors being in the mix at Oakmont this week. DJ22 likes Corey Connors. Pat Rathwell likes Corey Connors. Bridget rolling with Rory McIlroy and Rob Mahoney, Charlie Woods. Not quite Charlie's time yet. And then some talk about Mario Ferraro from Mission Boy Bruce. He was a name at the deadline. And Kevin K, call Bill Guerin and don't let you hang up until you have Rossi. Let me ask you this, Kevin, and everyone else. Like, what are the Jets going to give up for Rossi? What could the Jets offer that would have Minnesota going, yeah, that makes sense for us to trade him in the division to a team that desperately needs a number 2 center? Like, I'm just not sure that there's a fit. And I'm not sure the Jets have or would be willing to trade, a player. I mean, listen, he's got more points than Perfetti. And they're not trading Perfetti. So anyways, it's a really interesting situation. But yes, maybe there's a three-way option that he can get traded and then he can end up in Winnipeg one way. Husk, whatever they want. Well, I'd love to know, like, what do you think would get it done? Because they're not trading Sandberg. I don't think, they'd be looking at, we're certainly not trading Morrissey. Neil Pionk just re-signed. Up front, Gabriel Velarde, who's needs a new deal, much like Rossi's going to. I don't know. I'm here and open for all suggestions on what might be able to get that done. Anyways, keep your thoughts coming in the chat. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. We will get to the horse picks in a minute, but let's just kick it over to Coolbet for a minute. We just kind of went through a bunch of the golf numbers at Coolbet. Scotty Scheffler's the favorite at plus 280. Bryson is 6-1, but again, if you're betting Bryson, click on the exclusives, the PMA boost. It's from 6-1 to 10-1. Best number you're going to see on Bryson anywhere. And then Rahm at 12, Rory at 13. I might be moving lines lately because I jumped on Oberg at 27. He's now to 22. But you've got plus top fives, top tens. You've got top nation, like the top Canadians, top Europeans, all of that. Props and cut bets as well. I might put together a little to miss the cut parlay, including one Brooks Koepka, who's plus money, plus 105. His game's in an ugly spot, and this is one of those places that it'll be very, very difficult to get back in if you do blow up. So as much as I've been a Brooks guy in the past and have won with him before, I think I might be fading Brooks Koepka. NBA Finals tonight. Thunder, 5.5-point favorites in Indiana against the Pacers. I still think that the 5-game sweep is on the table, but tonight will tell us a big story. I'm going to lay the points with the Thunder on the road. Halliburton over 19.5 points is plus 130. And SGA, the SGA number is 33.5. He's already got 34 and 38 in 2 games. And the over's minus 122. Series price right now, if you believe in the Pacers, who have home court now, plus 435 for Indiana to win the title. So you can still get a great number. Oh, and by the way, if you are betting on the golf over at Coolbet, whatever your favorite bet is, click on that green box and add a 30% multiplier to that wager. I'm still trying to lock in. I'll usually do a top 10 or a top 20 or a top Canadian, something like that for the 30% win boost, as opposed to the outrights. And the Stanley Cup Final set for tomorrow, Game 4, Oilers plus 130, Panthers minus 154. Total in the game is 6. And the series price right now, Edmonton plus 210. Florida minus 256. You think Edmonton can get back in this, Reem?
They better. I wouldn't want to go back home
No.
down 3-1 on Saturday. Like, we could see the cup handed out Saturday night. I already got plans.
I want 7.
Yeah, you want 7, so I think they'll bounce back. But yeah, that third period, they weren't even trying to play hockey. It was so bizarre. And at a certain point, like, you say, hey, like, this is getting too silly here. Let's just go home and call it. Like,
if it was against any other team, I would say, yeah, that was dumb. Against Florida, no, I have no issue with it. And I actually think it's a good thing for Edmonton to do that, to get it all out, and now be ready to go out, just focus on winning a hockey game. Now that some of the, because let's face it, that's exactly what Florida's doing. I mean, they drag you out to the alley and leave you there. The Oilers trying to come back in, get this series back to 2-2. Everything's up at Coolbet right now. We got Blue Jays, and we should quickly update the CFL lines. This is a kind of wild, Remo. BC is now a 3-point favorite against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And as we talked about on the Lock Shop and with us beforehand, the announcement of Drew Brown being out for Ottawa, Montreal was still a -1 favorite. Obviously, more people than us have been pounding Montreal. Montreal now -3.5. So if you jumped on our CFL 110 parlay yesterday, you got a nice number because that one is changing significantly. Ottawa went from a slight home favorite to a +150 money line underdog.
Yeah, that line came out and Montreal was like, it was like basically a pick 'em, and Montreal was the even money, and I was really surprised at that. And then, yeah, they announced right before we went live that Drew Brown was out, and Matthew Schultz, last seen he was in Montreal, in Hamilton too, is at quarterback, and yeah, it was still -1. It took a while to adjust, but I guess people started betting Montreal at -1, and here we are -3.5 for Montreal in Ottawa. So yeah, I think Montreal is certainly going to take that one. Yeah, that -3 in BC. I did see Nathan Rourke was talking about, the quick turnaround for them. And the other games this weekend, Saturday, Toronto hosting Calgary. They get their Grey Cup rings. Just saying that makes you want to throw up a little.
Well, just quickly on that line's moved a lot as well.
What's going on? What was it before?
It's now, it was 3.5. I think I saw 4 at one point. Toronto's now just a 1.5 point favorite, and that I'm just looking right now is because this is from Matt Shinetti. Argos practice today. Nick Arbuckle leading the first team. Tucker Horn with the second team. Chad Kelly in pads. Starting center, Darius Sirocco in a walking boot.
Oh.
So based on that, probably another week before Chad Kelly returns. Another reason to jump in and get on these numbers. I'm just going to look right now. And the Riders are now 3.5 point favorites against the Tiger Cats. But right when the odds went out, I put something together for this week's. What do we have here? Well, the Bomber money line's changed big time. It's gone way, way up. Montreal's has gone way down, and Calgary's has gone way down. Just trying to see. That must have been it. And anyways, the CFL 110 special that we had, Ticats +4.5, Alouettes +0.5, and Bombers Lions under 48.5. It was boosted to +647, but with this change in that other game, it's now all the way to, wow. It's now down to +487, boosted from +425. So hopefully you got on that with us early, and hopefully we can make it happen, which would be nice. But Patty's got a bunch of exclusives for the golf up right now. So get on over to Coolbet. If you haven't played there before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And good luck on the U.S. Open. And, of course, on any hockey or CFL bets you make. I should mention, Gold Eyes win last night. They're in Chicago against the Chicago Dogs. Gold Eyes +105 tonight to win the series. Chicago Dogs -139. Gold Eyes games up all season under Canadian baseball, or if you just go into the left margin on the left. And speaking of the Gold Eyes, Remo, I guess we're able to sell a couple more tickets, squeeze in, but we've got a pretty full crew for next Thursday for our first Gold Eyes WST get-together and patio party. We got that lower field deck done. We're very close to being full, but we have got the green light that we've got a few more tickets to sell. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, we are very limited right now. Get over to the website, winnipegsportstalk.com, and get those tickets. And what an awesome night that's going to be, and another great turnout from WSTers coming out for the game.
Yeah, and someone sent over the picture from last night's game. Check out this picture. Here, we had such a great time, and yeah, I thought we had to put away some tickets for you and I and Connor. So I reduced the number, but yeah, there's about eight left. WinnipegSportsTalk.com, and check this out. Had a great time at the game last year. It was a quick one, and
Yeah.
and there's no Stanley Cup game that night. Last year we were watching the game on our phones, and then rushed home to finish it. So hey, I love that patio. You got the bar right there, good concessions. And if you're the patio, you think it's you don't want a different view. The craft beer corner right there, so plenty of space at Blue Cross Park. Can't wait to see everyone.
A who's who. I mean, there's waiters, there's Zolt, there's Shep's Retro TV Winnipeg, there's Eric, Gregory with the hat in the back, there's Mary Jane, Steph. Oh man, it was a lot of fun. So yes, about 8 tickets left. So do not sleep on those. If you want to join us next Thursday, hit us up, winnipegsportstalk.com. Click on the link, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Thursday when you come in. We'll have wristbands for everyone at the table at the front, and we'll get a couple little brown jugs in us and hopefully see a great baseball game. And good luck to the Gold Eyes tonight. Again, they're back next week starting on Tuesday, in addition to our night on Thursday. Tickets available at 982 Base or online at goldeyes.com. All right, Remo, let's get to the track for tonight. Live racing, Assiniboia Downs. And I was back last night. I watched the soccer game, which was disappointing. Canada ended up losing in a shootout, but still won the tournament overall on the back of their win against Ukraine, which I was at on Saturday, which was amazing. But Remis, I was watching race 6. I had a $1 triactor wheel, as I like to put in, which is the top 3 horses. I click on the YouTube. I see the race is finished, and it is 4-6-8, which is exactly what I gave out yesterday on the program. And 6 went off as a 50-1 underdog and finished second. So I'm looking at this going, oh my God, this could be a big one when you consider that not a lot of people, I don't think, had 6 in the mix just because of how far down the odds board was. I do see that there has been an objection. And get this. So it's 4-6-8. I have 4-6-8. The objection was from horse 5 on horse 7. So I'm looking at the chat. Obviously, I'm good. Well, so what? If horse 5 has something to do, an objection on horse 7, 7's out, no worries. That doesn't change the top 3. I've never seen this before. A double DQ. 7 was DQ'd, and 8 was DQ'd as well for essentially pushing, I guess, 7 into 5. So I got as bad of a beat as I've ever had at the track. No, I'm not complaining. I've had a couple nice wins. The account's looking good. It's been a good season so far. But, man, with a 50-1 underdog in on the triactor, I had a tough time sleeping after that one last night.
Yeah, you've had some big ones this year so far. I did have one winner yesterday, so I came out slightly ahead, but looking forward to tonight. And yeah, I think I was reading my phone without my glasses, and I thought you said you almost hit a tractor, and I got very worried about you, but it was a triactor. The betting, the horse betting type. So,
all right, let's get to our picks for tonight. I'm kind of into good. It seems like the bigger races are usually 6 and 7, so I'm going to keep on cracking away with these $1 triactor wheels and a couple of, chalkier bets early on. I am on race number 2. I'm betting $4 on Venti, number 6 today. 2 win. 6 to win in race number 2. You have 1 or 2?
I do not have 1 or 2. I'm 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, I am on race number 3. And I am going $4 on number 5 to win, the Dirty Flirt. Dirty Flirt to win.
Nice.
In race number 3, horse number 5. All right, so I'm good until race 6. So what do you have in 4 and 5?
I have 4, 1, 6, 7, trifecta box, Last Renegade. 6 is Orcadian Storm, and Joe's Had Enough. I have that in race 4. Race 5, I am just going with horse 4 to win, Mr. K.
Nice, Mr. K. Was my old grade 6 teacher.
Yeah.
Called him that.
Nice.
Mr. Kirkpatrick was his real name, but we'll take Mr. K. All right. So now we get to race 6. I've got my first of 2 try boxes. In this one, we are going with 5, Swiss Laker Boy, number 6, Tapologist, and number 8, Gopher. So a 5, 6, 8 triactor box, $1, well, $6 in total.
Yeah, okay. I have 6, 7, 8 here. Going for a longer shot with Mr. Benji. I'm going 6, 7, 8.
And then finally, race number 7, the big one, the finale. I always love waiting for that final one. I am going 5, 6, 9. So 5 is Awfully Special, 6 Just a Pose, and number 9, Dawn of the Devil. 2 of those picks a little bit back up, but that came through. That would be a real beautiful one. 5, 6, 9 for my final bet. What do you got in race 7?
I have horse 2 to win. Daisy's a doozy.
Daisy's a doozy. There you go. Number 2 opened at 9-2. HPIBet.com is where you can bet on Assiniboia Downs remotely if you would like. And don't forget the boys, Kirk and Stretch, on before the races and before each race with their up-to-date selections and picks and the latest information over on the ASD YouTube. They do a great job of that. And you know, Remo, I finished up watching race 7, and then you know what it was.
Raw?
Crazy Hour.
Oh.
I love Kirk's Crazy Hour promos. And yeah, if you do hang around till the end of the night, right at the end, it is Crazy Hour for an hour, $5 beer, wine, shots, and 25% off all appetizers for Crazy Hour at Assiniboia Downs. So great deals, free admission, free parking. Get on down there tonight. Actually, should be a really nice night to head out to the track. So good luck if you go there. If not, hit up HPI Bet and bet with us. We've got a nice lead on Reem. We got to handle it. We got to continue it. But Remus has been doing well lately. It's great if we both win. And that is the goal. That is the goal tonight. What do you got going on tonight? I'm going to watch some of this hoops, the Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Going to be doing a crash course, last call for the U.S. Open, I think. And then I'm looking forward to tomorrow. The Thursdays and Fridays, when we've got a golf major, especially this tournament with the Carnage. 2 of my favorite days of the year when the Thursdays and Fridays of all the majors are very fun. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, I do enjoy watching it. U.S. Open does get a lot of attention because it's so difficult and the high numbers that you see. And yeah, tonight, I'm not sure what I got going on. I've been watching this Owen Wilson show on Apple, this golf show. It's kind of like Happy Gilmore with Owen Wilson. New episode was yesterday. Maybe I'll watch that, fold my laundry.
That's on what, in Netflix?
Apple.
Oh, Apple.
It's called Stick. Good show.
You have Apple TV?
Apple TV. They got Ted Lasso. They got Ted Lasso, Severance. They don't have a ton of shows.
MLS. Yeah. All MLS is on Apple.
Yeah, Friday Night Baseball is on Apple.
Oh, so you're the guy that gets to watch those Jays games that aren't on TV 2 or 3 times a year. Oh, smart.
Yeah, exactly. When everyone's mad, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. They do an okay broadcast. So they don't have a ton of shows, but there's some good shows. Oh yeah, The Studio with the Seth Rogen one. They got some good shows on Apple.
How much is it a month?
I don't know. They just charge the car.
Yeah, I know.
I don't look.
I did see. I mean, I held out for so long for Netflix before all the WWE stuff went there, and it actually was good because it's less than the WWE network was. So there is a net savings on it if you had it.
And it has all the PLEs now, right? Premium live events. They're not called pay-per-views.
Exactly. I you know what? After the soccer game, went back to my hotel. I was turning on the CFL before I went out again and realized I got Netflix, and I ended up putting on and watching Money in the Bank, which was always one of the more fun PLEs. That went last week. Seth Rollins, your winner. And of course, R-Truth came back as Ron Killings. That was the thing that had all the wrestling world all fired up about. Great show today. We got to get this pod up. Thank you to Matt Larkin, Josh Frey-Sam. Always love chopping it up with Fienberg. Great stuff with Michael Remis. Neil Smith. We'll have Neil Smith for you tomorrow on the program. Among many others, it should be MVP day for Connor Hellebuck. And of course, it is game day for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Home opener tomorrow. Less than 500 seats left. Get your tickets and count yourself in. What should be a great night at Princess Auto Stadium. That is going to do it for us on WST today. Thanks to all the sponsors that make this show happen each and every day, and all of you for hanging out with us. Good luck on those last-minute picks for the U.S. Open. There is a DraftKings contest. Get in that as well. And, of course, the CFL contest for tomorrow. And join us at 1 for another edition of WST to kick off Bomber season officially here in Winnipeg tomorrow, right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll see you then.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.